A sentence can contain 10 words you already know and still sound completely unfamiliar when a real person says it. That is one of the most frustrating experiences in language learning. You look at the transcript afterward and think, I know every word. Why could I not hear it? The answer is uncomfortable, but freeing. Knowing a word on a page does not mean your brain can recognize that word inside a moving stream of sound. Written English gives you clean borders. Spoken English removes many of them. On a page, each word stands alone. In conversation, words lean into each other. Sounds weaken. Consonants change. Small words become almost invisible. Important words become stronger. Speakers hesitate, restart, interrupt themselves, swallow syllables, change direction, and assume that you can use context to follow them. Your eyes were trained for a photograph. Your ears are receiving a film. That is why the usual advice to simply listen more often fails so many learners. More listening can help, but only when your brain knows what to notice. 10 hours of confused listening can strengthen the feeling that English is too fast. 10 minutes of intelligent listening can teach your brain a pattern it will recognize for years. The difference is not effort, the difference is training. This audiobook is built around one central idea. Fast English becomes understandable when your brain learns to recognize sound before it has time to analyze it. You do not need a larger vocabulary before you begin. You do not need a perfect accent. You do not need to move to an English-speaking country. You need to close the delay between hearing and recognition. That delay may be less than 1 second, but it controls everything. A speaker says a phrase. Your ear receives the sound. Your brain searches for the words. Then it checks grammar. Then it translates. Then it decides what the phrase means. By the time that process finishes, the conversation has moved 2 sentences ahead. You are not slow because you lack intelligence. You are slow because your listening system is taking a long route. We are going to shorten that route. You will learn how to build a sound dictionary inside your mind, so a spoken phrase is recognized as quickly as a familiar face. You will learn how to follow the important landmarks in a sentence instead of panicking over every weak sound. You will learn how prediction helps the brain hear more accurately, why rhythm carries meaning, how connected speech changes familiar words, and how to train with short audio in a way that produces measurable progress. You will also learn something many listening courses ignore. Understanding is not the final destination. Real listening must prepare you to respond. If your ear becomes stronger but your mouth remains passive, you will still freeze in conversation. So we will connect listening with speaking through controlled imitation, delayed response practice, retelling, and real-time reaction training. The goal is not only to hear English. The goal is to stay present while English is happening. There is no promise here that every accent will become effortless in 7 days. There is no trick that makes every movie clear after 1 practice session. Anyone who promises that is selling fantasy. Listening develops through repeated recognition, but the process does not need to remain mysterious. Once you understand what your brain is doing, you can train it deliberately. You can stop measuring yourself by one difficult podcast. You can stop calling yourself bad at listening. You can identify the exact layer that is breaking: sound recognition, segmentation, vocabulary, prediction, attention, rhythm, accent familiarity, or anxiety. When the problem becomes specific, the practice becomes specific, and specific practice creates momentum. That is why this audiobook belongs to the speaking momentum. Fluency is not one dramatic breakthrough. It is the result of small systems that begin to support one another. Your ear recognizes a phrase faster. That gives your brain more time. More time reduces panic. Less panic improves prediction. Better prediction helps you catch meaning. Clearer meaning makes your response easier. One improvement creates the next. That is momentum. Before we begin, make one honest decision. Stop asking whether you are naturally good at listening. That question is useless. Ask whether your current listening habits are training the abilities real conversation requires. If the answer is no, change the habits. Your present difficulty is not a permanent identity. It is feedback from a system that has not yet been trained correctly. You are not going to chase every word. You are going to learn where meaning lives. You are not going to hide behind subtitles. You are going to use text at the correct stage of practice. You are not going to repeat audio mindlessly. You are going to repeat with a different purpose each time. You are not going to imitate a speaker like an actor without understanding. You are going to connect sound, intention, rhythm, and response. Most importantly, you are going to stop waiting for fast English to become slower. The outside world may never adjust itself to your comfort. Interviews will continue at natural speed. Colleagues will interrupt. Films will contain background noise. People will use contractions, incomplete sentences, humor, emotion, and accents. Your power comes from making your listening system more flexible, not from demanding perfect conditions. Imagine the moment you hear a fast sentence and do not panic. You do not understand every sound, but you catch the direction. You recognize the key phrase. Context fills a small gap. Your mind stays with the speaker. You answer without replaying the sentence in your head. That moment is not reserved for gifted learners. It is built through the skills in this book. The sentence did not disappear. Your brain arrived late. From this point forward, we train it to arrive on time. Chapter 1. Close the half-second gap. The greatest enemy in fast listening is not speed itself. It is delay. A speaker can talk at a moderate pace and still feel impossible if your brain recognizes each phrase too late. Another speaker can talk quickly and feel clear if the patterns are familiar. This is why speed should not be your first measurement. Recognition time should be. Think about your own name. Someone can say it across a noisy room, and your attention turns immediately. You do not translate it. You do not analyze its sounds. You do not ask which letters were used. Recognition is instant because the pattern has been reinforced thousands of times. Common English phrases can become just as immediate, but only when you train them as sounds, not merely as written information. Many learners possess silent knowledge. They know a phrase when they see it, but that knowledge does not activate quickly when they hear it. They can read, "I should have told you," without difficulty. But in natural speech, the phrase may arrive compressed, with weak vowels and connected consonants. The learner hears a blur. Then the transcript appears, and the sentence suddenly looks obvious. The knowledge was present, but the path from sound to meaning was too weak. Your first task is to find these silent words and phrases. They are not new vocabulary. They are known language with an unknown sound shape. This distinction matters because the solution is not another definition. The solution is repeated sound recognition. Choose a short piece of natural English, no longer than 30 seconds at first. Listen once without text. Do not pause. Your only job is to understand the situation. Who is speaking? What are they trying to do? Are they explaining, refusing, joking, asking, warning, or remembering? This first listening trains global meaning. It prevents you from turning every audio into a spelling test. Listen a second time and notice the places where your mind falls behind. Do not write every word. Mark the moment of delay. Perhaps the beginning is clear, but one phrase causes confusion, and everything after it disappears. That phrase is your training target. The problem is often not the whole audio. It is one bottleneck that steals your attention. Now, check the transcript. Compare what you heard with what was actually said. Be precise. Did you know the words? Did two words connect? Did a weak word vanish? Did the speaker use a contraction? Did you expect a different phrase? Did an unfamiliar accent change one vowel? Your error has a cause. Find it. Then listen to the target phrase several times while looking at the transcript. This stage connects the visible form with the sound form. Next, hide the transcript and listen again. If the phrase is still unclear, do not simply increase the volume. Slow the audio slightly, but not so much that the rhythm becomes unnatural. Hear the phrase, repeat it, and then return to normal speed. The goal is not to memorize one recording, The goal is to teach your brain a reusable pattern. Suppose the phrase is, "You might as well try." Do not stop after understanding that sentence. Notice the frame "might as well." Listen for it in other examples. Say, "We might as well begin. I might as well ask. They might as well stay." Your brain learns faster when one sound pattern appears in several meaningful situations. This is how the half-second gap closes. Recognition becomes faster because the brain no longer starts from zero. It has a stored sound pattern. When that pattern returns, meaning activates immediately, do not confuse familiarity with laziness. Repeating a useful phrase is not staying at an easy level. It is building automaticity. A concert pianist does not avoid scales because they are simple. An athlete does not stop practicing basic movement because it is familiar. Mastery depends on making essential actions fast and reliable. Listening works the same way. You already have some automatic English. Phrases such as, "Thank you, I do not know," or "What happened?" may require almost no effort. That proves your brain can create direct recognition. The question is how to expand that automatic zone. Start by collecting phrases with high conversational value. These are phrases that help speakers manage real interaction. "That is not what I meant." "I did not catch that." "It depends on what you need." "I was about to call you." "I am not convinced." "What makes you say that?" "Let me make sure I understand." Each phrase carries a complete social function. When recognized automatically, it gives you both listening power and speaking power. A common mistake is collecting too much. Learners write 50 phrases, review none of them, and then search for 50 more. That creates the appearance of progress without recognition. Select 5 phrases, hear them in natural audio, repeat them over several days. Use them in imagined situations. Record yourself, listen again after a week. Depth creates speed. Another mistake is waiting for perfect understanding before continuing. Real listening is probabilistic. You may catch 80% and still understand the message. The half-second gap does not close because you force every sound into certainty. It closes because your brain becomes comfortable making fast, reasonable interpretations and correcting them when new information arrives. Suppose someone says, "I thought we were meeting at 6. You hear "thought," "meeting," and 6, but "miss we were." The message is still available. A rigid listener stops at the missing words. A flexible listener uses the landmarks and remains present. Later, repeated exposure makes the weak section clearer. But in the conversation, staying with meaning is more valuable than proving that you heard every syllable. This requires emotional discipline. Many learners treat a missed word as an emergency. The moment confusion appears, they mentally leave the speaker and begin investigating the past. What was that sound? Was it a new word? Did I misunderstand? While they investigate, the present disappears. Train yourself to release small gaps. Keep listening. The next sentence may explain the first. Context often repairs what the ear missed. Use the 2-second rule. When you miss a small part, give yourself no more than 2 seconds of mental attention. If the meaning is still moving, return to the speaker. You can review the audio later. In live conversation, presence is more important than forensic analysis. There is also a physical side to recognition delay. Anxiety narrows attention. When you expect failure, your body becomes tense, your breathing becomes shallow, and your working memory becomes crowded with self-judgment. You hear English and simultaneously hear an inner voice saying, "You are missing it again." That inner commentary uses the same mental space needed for comprehension. Before a listening session, take one slow breath and set a practical target. Do not say, "I must understand everything." Say, "I will identify the speaker's purpose and 3 important phrases." A clear target reduces pressure. Your brain can work on the sound instead of defending your self-esteem. Measure progress in recognition, not emotion. One day you may feel confident and understand little. Another day you may feel tired but recognize 5 phrases that were difficult last week. Feelings are unreliable. Evidence is better. Keep a short listening log. Write the date, the audio length, the first listen understanding, the phrase that caused delay, and what became clearer after practice. After a month, you will see patterns. Perhaps connected questions are difficult. Perhaps one accent requires more exposure. Perhaps you lose attention after 1 minute. The log turns vague frustration into useful data. The half-second gap is not closed through willpower. It is closed through thousands of small recognitions. A sound that once required thought becomes familiar. A phrase that once needed translation begins to carry meaning directly. A sentence that once broke your attention becomes easy enough for you to notice tone and emotion. That last point is important. When basic recognition becomes automatic, listening gains depth. At first, all your energy is spent identifying words. Later, you begin to hear attitude. You notice that a person is uncertain, impatient, amused, or unconvinced. You hear what is implied, not only what is said. This is the real reward of automaticity. It frees your mind for human meaning. Do not aim to become a machine that captures perfect transcripts. Aim to become a listener who remains connected. Close the delay one useful phrase at a time. Train known language until its spoken form feels familiar. Release small gaps. Follow the speaker's purpose. Let recognition become faster than translation. Fast English begins to feel slow when your brain stops arriving late. Chapter 2. Build a dictionary of sound. A normal dictionary tells you what a word means, how it is spelled, and sometimes how it is pronounced in isolation. That is useful, but it is not enough for real listening. Your ear needs another kind of dictionary, a collection of how words and phrases actually behave when people speak naturally. Consider the word probably. On a page, it looks stable. In careful pronunciation, every syllable may be clear. In casual conversation, the middle can become weak, and different speakers may compress it in different ways. If your brain stores only the careful form, you may know the word perfectly and still fail to recognize it. The problem is not vocabulary. Your internal sound entry is incomplete. The same thing happens with phrases. Could you help me? May not arrive as 4 equally clear units, did you know? Can become a tightly connected sound. I would have gone, may be reduced until the grammar is almost invisible to an untrained ear. Written English preserves every piece. Spoken English gives energy according to rhythm, speed, emotion, and context. Your sound dictionary must therefore contain more than pronunciation. Each entry should include the full phrase, its natural rhythm, its common reductions, its meaning, and the situation in which it appears. When those elements are stored together, recognition becomes faster and memory becomes stronger. Start with phrases, not isolated words. An isolated word has too many possible lives. The word point can refer to an idea, a location, a purpose, a score, or an action. But that is not the point. Carries a clear conversational function. You have a point signals partial agreement. What is the point? Questions value or purpose. The phrase teaches meaning, grammar, rhythm, and use at the same time. For each phrase, create 3 connections. First, connect sound to meaning. Second, connect meaning to a situation. Third, connect the situation to your own voice. Take the phrase, I did not mean it that way. Hear it several times from natural audio or a clear recording. Do not immediately repeat it. First, understand the intention. A speaker is correcting an interpretation. Now, imagine a situation. You made a comment, someone felt offended, and you need to explain. Then say the phrase with that intention. Your voice should not sound like a person reading a grammar exercise. It should sound like someone trying to repair a misunderstanding. Emotion improves storage because human memory does not organize language as a flat list. We remember events, purposes, reactions, and consequences. A phrase attached to a scene is easier to recognize than a phrase attached only to a translation. This is why vocabulary lists often disappoint learners. A list may help you pass a test, but conversation does not present words in alphabetical order. It presents language inside situations. Someone is late. Someone disagrees politely. Someone changes a plan. Someone explains a mistake. Someone asks for clarification. Your sound dictionary should be organized around these functions. Build small categories. For uncertainty, collect phrases such as, I am not completely sure, it is hard to say, I would have to check, and there is a chance. For clarification, collect, what do you mean by that? Could you say that another way? Are you saying that? And let me see if I understood. For disagreement, collect, I see it differently, I am not sure I agree, that may be true, but, and I understand the argument, I just do not accept a conclusion. When phrases share a function, your brain begins to predict them. Prediction is one of the foundations of fast listening. If you know that the speaker is expressing uncertainty, your brain narrows the possibilities. You no longer process every sound without direction. You listen inside a meaningful category. A sound dictionary also teaches variation. One meaning can appear in many sound shapes. A person may say, I do not understand. I am not following. You lost me. I am not sure what you are getting at. Or, could you explain that? If you learn only one textbook sentence, real conversation will surprise you. If you collect a family of expressions, your ear becomes flexible. Flexibility does not mean memorizing every possible phrase. It means learning enough patterns to recognize the intention even when the wording changes. The listener's question shifts from, did I hear the exact sentence I studied? To, what social action is this person performing? Are they refusing, correcting, softening, emphasizing, buying time? Once the action is clear, the words are easier to interpret. Now consider multi-word verbs and common combinations. Learners often know each word but miss the phrase. Figure out, bring up, end up, turn out, run into, come across, and work out are heard as units by experienced listeners. If you process each part separately, the meaning arrives late. Store the complete unit with examples. Do not write figure and out as separate entries. Store figure it out, I cannot figure out why, and we will figure something out. Notice how the pronoun can sit inside the phrase. Hear the natural stress. Create a situation. Use it aloud. Your sound dictionary becomes practical when it includes the phrase in motion. The same principle applies to grammar. Grammar is easier to hear when it is stored in frequent frames. Instead of studying would have only as a rule about unreal past situations, train phrases such as, I would have called, you would have known, they would have helped, and it would have been different. In speech, the auxiliary words may be weak. The strong information often sits in the main verb or final adjective. Repeated frames prepare your ear for the weak grammar. This is one reason learners can explain advanced grammar but fail to hear it. They know the structure visually but have not met it enough as sound. A spoken grammar pattern must become familiar at several speeds and in several voices. Use contrast pairs to sharpen recognition. Listen to I can do it and I cannot do it. In some accents and contexts, the difference may depend more on stress and rhythm than on a strongly pronounced final consonant. Listen to he works there and he worked there. Listen to she is leaving and she was leaving. Do not rely on spelling. Train your ear to notice the actual cue the speaker gives. Sometimes the cue is a tiny sound. Sometimes it is the time expression. Sometimes it is the sentence rhythm. Sometimes context makes the grammar obvious, even when the ending is weak. Good listening uses all available evidence. Your dictionary should include misleading sound matches. English contains phrases that can resemble one another in fast speech. A name and an aim. Ice cream and I scream, or might rain and my train show how boundaries can shift. Real context normally resolves the ambiguity, but these examples reveal an important truth. The ear does not receive spaces, the brain creates them. When you mishear a sentence, do not feel foolish. Ask where your brain placed the boundary. Perhaps another sounded like another. Perhaps an option sounded like a notion. Perhaps could have was heard as an unfamiliar single word. Every mishearing teaches you how segmentation works. Keep a misheard phrase list. Write what you thought you heard, what was actually said, and why the error occurred. This practice is more valuable than simply copying the transcript. It shows the difference between your current sound system and natural speech. One error may come from connected boundaries. Another may come from compressed grammar. Another may come from sarcastic tone. Each type requires different training. Boundary errors need connected speech practice. Compressed grammar needs frame repetition. Tone errors need emotional listening. A sound dictionary is not just a notebook. It is a record of how your perception is becoming more accurate. Use audio, not only phonetic symbols. Symbols can help, but the ear learns from real sound. Save short clips when possible. Record your own examples. Return to them after several days. A phrase should be heard in more than one voice because a single recording can create narrow familiarity. You want the pattern, not only the speaker. At the same time, avoid jumping across too many accents in the beginning. Build a stable base with one clear variety of English, then widen your exposure. A beginner who changes accent, speed, topic, and difficulty every day may confuse variety with training. First, create strong entries, then make them flexible. A useful weekly system is to choose one conversational theme. On Monday, collect 5 phrases. On Tuesday, hear them in short examples. On Wednesday, practice recognizing them without text. On Thursday, say them with different emotions. On Friday, use them in a 1-minute response. On Saturday, listen to a new clip containing similar functions. On Sunday, review what remains slow. This is not glamorous, but it works because it respects how recognition develops. The brain needs repeated, meaningful encounters separated over time. 1 intense hour followed by 6 days of silence is weaker than 10 focused minutes across the week. Do not fill your sound dictionary with rare expressions merely because they look impressive. Fluency grows from high-frequency language used accurately and quickly. The phrase "I am not sure" that follows may be more valuable in discussion than an obscure academic word you will hear once a year. Choose language that helps you understand people and participate. Your sound dictionary should also contain filler phrases and hesitation signals. Real speakers say, "Well, let me think. The thing is, basically, actually." And to be fair, these expressions organize thought. They may not carry the main information, but they tell you how the message is developing. When a speaker says, "The thing is, prepare for a complication." When they say, "What I mean is," prepare for clarification. When they say, "To be fair," prepare for balance or a concession. When they say, "Anyway," prepare for a return or transition. These are road signs in spoken language. Store them as signals, not as vocabulary definitions. Over time, your dictionary changes the way you hear. A conversation that once sounded like one continuous blur begins to contain recognizable units. You hear a hesitation signal, then a position, then an example, then a correction. The structure becomes audible. Remember, the goal is not to own a giant notebook. The goal is to build rapid access in the brain. Test recognition without looking. Use the phrase in your own speech. Hear it in a different voice. Return after a week. If you still need several seconds to understand it, the entry is not yet automatic. A written dictionary tells you that a phrase exists. A sound dictionary makes the phrase available when life is moving. Build it patiently. Every strong entry removes a little delay. Every familiar sound gives you more attention for the next idea. Every phrase that moves directly from ear to meaning makes fast English less foreign. Your vocabulary is not complete until your ears know it. Chapter 3. Follow the landmarks. not every footstep. Imagine trying to cross a city by staring at every stone in the road. You would move slowly, lose direction, and become exhausted. A skilled traveler looks for landmarks, the bridge, the station, the tall building, the turn near the park. Listening requires the same intelligence. In spoken English, some words carry the central message. Others connect, modify, or support that message. If you give equal attention to every sound, your working memory becomes overloaded. Fast listeners do not hear less. They prioritize better. Take the sentence, "I was hoping we could move the meeting to Friday afternoon." The strongest landmarks are likely hoping, move, meeting, Friday, and afternoon. The smaller words still matter, but the main intention can survive, even if one weak syllable is unclear. The speaker wants to change the meeting time. A learner who chases every word may become trapped at, "was hoping we could." A learner who follows landmarks catches the request and remains available for the response. This does not mean grammar is unimportant. It means real-time listening uses layers. First, catch the direction. Then, as your ear improves, notice the finer details. If you demand perfect detail before allowing general meaning, you reverse the natural order of comprehension. Begin by training content word listening. Use a short sentence and identify the nouns, main verbs, adjectives, adverbs, names, numbers, and time expressions that carry information. Then listen for how those words receive stress. In many English sentences, the important words are longer, clearer, or more prominent. The smaller grammatical words often become shorter. Say the sentence aloud with only the landmarks, hoping, move, meeting, Friday afternoon. The complete sentence is more polite and precise, but the core message is visible. This exercise teaches your mind where meaning is concentrated. Now listen again to the full sentence. The weak words no longer feel like a threat. They sit around a structure you already understand. Landmark listening is especially useful in difficult conditions. In a noisy room, on a poor phone connection, or with an unfamiliar accent, you may not receive every sound. Experienced listeners use keywords, context, and expectation to rebuild the message. They do not collapse because one article disappears. Numbers, names, negatives, and contrast words deserve special attention because they can change decisions. Missing not, confusing 15 with 50, or hearing Tuesday instead of Thursday has practical consequences. Train yourself to identify high-risk details. When a number matters, repeat it back. Did you say 15 or 50? When a date matters, confirm it. So that is Thursday the 18th, correct? Strong listeners do not pretend certainty. They know which details require verification. Contrast words are also powerful landmarks. But, however, although, instead, actually, rather, and on the other hand, signal a change in direction. A speaker may spend 20 seconds describing one view and then say, "But the real problem is," if you miss the contrast signal, you may remember the background and miss the conclusion. Train discourse markers as part of your listening map. First of all, opens a sequence. For example, announces evidence. In other words, restates. The main reason prioritizes. As a result, gives a consequence. The point is, identifies the central claim. By the way, changes direction. These phrases help you organize meaning before every word is clear. Listen to talks, interviews, or explanations, and write only the structural signals. Do not transcribe. You might write problem, example, contrast, reason, result, conclusion. Then listen again and fill in the content. This practice trains you to hear architecture. Conversation also has interpersonal landmarks. A rising tone may signal that a person has not finished. A long pause may show hesitation. A repeated word may show emphasis. A soft opening such as, "I was wondering if," often prepares a request. A phrase like, "I hate to say this," prepares criticism. These signals tell you how to interpret the words that follow. Suppose a manager says, "I appreciate the effort, but we need to rethink the approach." The polite opening is real, but the landmark, but shifts the message toward revision. A listener who clings to appreciate may misunderstand the action required. Skilled listening identifies the sentence's center of gravity. Landmarks also help when sentences are long. English speakers often add side information between the subject and the main verb. For example, the proposal that the regional team submitted after months of discussion still needs approval. A learner may get lost in the middle. Train yourself to hold the main frame. The proposal still needs approval. The inserted information adds detail but does not replace the spine. When listening to long sentences, ask 3 questions. Who or what is the sentence about? What happened or what is the main claim? What detail limits or changes that claim? This gives your working memory a structure. Do not try to store the sentence word for word. Store meaning in compressed form. If you hear, because of the delays we experienced during the first phase, we have decided to extend the testing period by 2 weeks. Your mental note can be, first phase delays, testing extended 2 weeks. That is enough to follow the discussion. Compression is not cheating. It is how comprehension works. Even in your first language, you do not preserve every sentence exactly. You retain a model of the meaning. English listening becomes easier when you stop treating your brain like a courtroom recorder. A useful drill is the 5-word summary. Listen to a short passage and summarize it in 5 words. For example, flight canceled, passengers offered hotels, or team missed target, strategy changing. This forces you to identify landmarks. Then expand the summary into 1 complete sentence. Then retell the passage in your own words. Another drill is selective listening. Before playing the audio, choose 1 category: time, reason, opinion, emotion, or action. Listen only for that category. On the second play, choose another. This proves that you do not need to capture everything at once. Attention can be directed. For a news clip, listen first for what happened, then listen for where and when, then listen for cause, then listen for response. For a story, listen first for the main character's goal, then the problem, then the decision, then the result. For a discussion, listen first for each speaker's position, then the supporting reasons. Structure reduces chaos. Landmark listening also protects you from unknown vocabulary. Suppose someone says, "The device is surprisingly durable, but the interface is cumbersome." You may not know cumbersome, but tone, contrast, and context suggest a negative comment about usability. Do not stop the entire message for 1 word. Make a temporary interpretation and continue. Later, check the word. If your interpretation was close, your contextual listening worked. If it was wrong, examine why. The goal is not reckless guessing, it is intelligent inference. Strong listeners constantly form and revise meaning. They do not wait until the final word to begin understanding. They build a model as the sentence unfolds. New information confirms or changes that model. This active process is why listening can feel fast even when it is accurate. Many learners fear inference because school trained them to search for exact answers. Real conversation is not a multiple-choice exam. People mumble, rooms are noisy, references are incomplete. Even native listeners ask, infer, and repair. Your goal is not impossible certainty. Your goal is effective understanding. There is a danger, however. Some learners listen only for a few familiar words and invent the rest. That is not landmark listening. A landmark must be connected to grammar, tone, and context. If you hear project, Friday, and cancel, you should not immediately conclude that the project was canceled Friday. The speaker may have said, "Do not cancel the project. Move Friday's meeting." Negatives and relationships matter. Use landmarks to guide, not replace, careful listening. With practice, your ear will catch more of the supporting language. The method simply keeps the central message alive while details develop. Train stress recognition by changing the emphasized word in a sentence. Say, "I thought she sent the email." Stress I, then thought, then she, then sent, then email. Notice how the implied contrast changes. When you practice producing stress, you become more sensitive to it in other voices. Train repair by listening to a sentence once and writing your best meaning. Listen again and revise. Then check the transcript. This teaches your brain that first interpretations are working drafts, not final verdicts. Flexible listeners recover quickly because they are willing to update. In live conversation, use confirmation phrases that preserve momentum. So the main issue is the deadline? You are saying the cost increased, right? Let me check that I understood the last part. These phrases turn listening into collaboration. You do not need to carry the entire burden silently. A good listener is not someone who never asks. A good listener notices what matters enough to confirm it. As you develop landmark listening, long speech will begin to feel more organized. You will hear the main claim, supporting example, contrast, and conclusion. You will notice which word receives emotional weight. You will stop spending all your attention on articles and prepositions while the central idea passes by. Your ear does not need to follow every footstep to know where the speaker is going. Find the landmarks, hold the direction, confirm the details that matter. Let the weaker sounds become clearer through repeated exposure. Understanding is not built by catching everything. It is built by knowing what to catch first. Chapter 4. Hear what is coming before it arrives. Listening is not a passive act in which the ear waits for sound and the brain reacts afterward. Strong listening is predictive. The brain uses the situation, the speaker, the grammar, the topic, and the first part of a sentence to prepare for what may come next. This preparation makes recognition faster. Prediction does not mean inventing words. It means narrowing possibilities. If a waiter asks, "Would you like your coffee with?" your brain expects options such as milk, cream, or sugar. If a colleague says, "The reason we missed the deadline was," your brain expects an explanation. If someone begins, "I am sorry, but," you prepare for refusal, bad news, or disagreement. Context places the ear on the correct road. Without prediction, every sound arrives as an isolated surprise. The brain must search through too many possibilities. With prediction, the search area becomes smaller. This is one reason familiar topics are easier to understand. You already know the vocabulary, typical ideas, and likely sequence. Learners sometimes feel that using context is dishonest. They want to hear every word directly from the sound. But all human listening uses expectation. In your first language, you complete common patterns before the speaker finishes. You understand a noisy sentence because the situation limits what could reasonably have been said. Prediction is not a weakness, it is part of perception. The problem is not prediction itself, the problem is rigid prediction. If you decide too early what the speaker must say, you may force the sound into the wrong meaning. Skilled listeners predict lightly. They prepare an expectation but remain willing to change it. Imagine someone says, "I was going to accept the offer, but..." The word "but" tells you the final decision may be different. You might predict a concern, a better opportunity, or a change in circumstances. You do not know the exact ending, but you are ready for contrast. When the speaker continues, "The travel requirement was too high," the meaning enters a prepared structure. Train prediction before listening. Look at the title of a video or the situation of a conversation. Ask what ideas, phrases, and questions are likely. If the topic is renting an apartment, predict language about price, location, deposit, contract, utilities, noise, and move-in dates. Then listen and notice which predictions appear. This activates relevant knowledge. A word you rarely recognize may become easier because the topic has brought it closer to the surface. Your brain is not searching its entire vocabulary. It is searching a focused network. Do the same at sentence level. Pause after an opening and generate 2 or 3 possible endings. If I had known about the problem, you may predict, "I would have helped," "I would have called," or "I would have changed the plan." Then play the rest. The purpose is not to guess correctly every time. The purpose is to feel how grammar and meaning create expectations. Certain frames are highly predictable. Not only, but also, prepares a second related point. The more creates a comparison. It is not that. It is that prepares a correction, whether or not, signals that the outcome does not depend on one condition. When these frames are familiar, your ear gains a head start. Storytelling also follows patterns. A story introduces a normal situation, adds a problem, shows a response, and reaches a result. When you hear, "Everything was going fine until," you know disruption is coming. When you hear, "That was when I realized," you expect a discovery. When you hear, "In the end," you prepare for resolution. Predictive listening is especially valuable when speech contains unknown words. Suppose you hear, "The roads were completely after the storm, so nobody could drive through." Even if the missing adjective is unfamiliar, the consequence suggests blocked, flooded, damaged, or unsafe. The exact word may matter later, but the sentence remains understandable. Prediction also works with pronunciation. If the grammar requires a past participle after have, your brain can interpret a compressed sound more accurately. If a question begins with, "How long have you?" you expect an activity or a state that continues over time. Grammar is not only a rule for speaking, it is a listening prediction system. This is a more useful way to study grammar. Instead of asking only how to construct a tense, ask what a structure allows you to expect when listening. After used to, expect a base verb and a past habit. After looking forward to, expect a noun or an ing form. After there is no point in, expect an activity judged useless. Grammar reduces uncertainty. Collocations do the same. Words have preferred partners. We say, "Make a decision," "heavy traffic," "raise a concern," "meet a deadline," "take responsibility," and "strong evidence." When you hear the first part, the second becomes more likely. A learner who studies isolated words loses this predictive advantage. Build collocation families. For the word decision, collect make a decision, reach a decision, final decision, difficult decision, reverse a decision, and delay a decision. Hear them in complete sentences. When one part arrives in conversation, your brain is ready for the other. Prediction is also social. Different situations produce different language. A doctor may ask about duration, severity, symptoms, and changes. A job interviewer may ask about experience, challenges, strengths, and examples. A customer service agent may confirm identity, describe options, apologize, and explain next steps. Familiarity with the situation makes listening easier before pronunciation improves. Prepare for important real conversations by rehearsing likely paths. If you have a meeting, list the questions that may arise and the phrases used to answer them. If you need to call support, predict the information they will request. This is not memorizing a script, it is pre-activating the language network. Good prediction depends on attention. If you listen while scrolling through unrelated content, your brain cannot maintain a model of the situation. It hears words but loses the developing context. Then each sentence becomes harder because the predictive chain is broken. Treat context like a thread. Hold who is speaking, what they want, what has already happened, and what problem remains. Every sentence attaches to that thread. If your attention leaves, you must rebuild the model, which costs time. When attention breaks, do not panic. Re-enter through the next landmark. Listen for a repeated noun, a contrast word, a name, a number, or a summary phrase. Speakers often repair context for you. They say, "As I mentioned, the main point is, so what happened was," or "going back to the original question." Use those doors. A powerful exercise is pause and predict. Choose a 1-minute clip. Pause every 5 to 10 seconds. Say what you believe the speaker will do next. Give an example, explain a reason, disagree, describe a result, or change the topic. Then continue. This trains structural prediction, not just word guessing. Another exercise is missing ending practice. Take a transcript and cover the final phrase of selected sentences. Read the beginning and generate possible endings. Then listen to the original. Notice which clues made the real ending likely. You can also practice with silent video, but only as a brief thinking exercise, not as a replacement for sound. Watch a few seconds without audio and predict what kind of interaction is happening. Then listen. Body language and setting provide context. In real communication, listening is often supported by visual information, but your ear must still confirm the message. Be careful with cultural assumptions. Prediction is based on experience, and experience can mislead. Humor, politeness, directness, and disagreement differ across communities. Stay open. Use prediction to prepare, not to judge. There is an emotional benefit to prediction. The unknown creates tension. When your brain has a possible map, it feels less threatened. You listen with curiosity rather than fear. Even when the speaker chooses an unexpected phrase, you are engaged with the direction. This is why previewing a topic before listening can dramatically improve performance. Some learners call that cheating because the second attempt feels easier. It is not cheating. It shows that comprehension depends on both language knowledge and world knowledge. Real communication always occurs inside context. As your predictive skill grows, you will notice that listening becomes more active. You begin to anticipate the next question. You sense when a speaker is about to qualify a claim. You recognize when an example is coming. You hear a familiar frame, and your mind prepares the grammar that follows. Do not seek perfect prediction. Surprise is part of communication. The aim is to reduce the number of completely unexpected possibilities. A prepared brain recognizes faster. Before the sound arrives, meaning has already started. The room, the topic, the relationship, the grammar, and the first phrase all create a field of expectation. Learn to use it. Your ears hear the sentence. Your mind should meet it halfway. Chapter 5. Decode the disappearing sounds. Many learners believe that natural speakers remove half the language. They do not hear the small words they studied. They feel that sounds are being swallowed or hidden. What is actually happening is more systematic. Spoken English changes to preserve rhythm, efficiency, and ease of movement. The written form is not a recording of the mouth. It is a stable visual system. Speech is physical. The tongue, lips, jaw, breath, and voice move continuously. When one sound meets another, both may change. Some sounds become weaker, some merge, some disappear, some influence their neighbors. These changes are not careless mistakes. They are normal features of connected speech. If your ear expects every word to sound like a dictionary entry, natural English will seem dishonest. Once you learn the common changes, the same speech becomes predictable. Start with linking. A word ending in a consonant often connects to a following vowel. Pick it up flows across 3 words. Turn it off becomes a chain. An old idea may sound as if the consonants belong to different words than the spelling suggests. The ear receives sound, not spaces. Practice by marking connections. Write, take it away, leave it open, and find an answer. Say them slowly with smooth movement, then at natural speed. Do not add pauses where the spelling shows spaces. Your mouth teaches your ear what connected speech feels like. Linking can also involve a sound added between vowels to make movement easier. Depending on the accent, speakers may produce a light connecting sound in phrases such as go out or see it. You do not need to imitate every accent feature. You need to expect that 2 vowel sounds may not remain completely separate. Next comes reduction. Small grammatical words often use a weak vowel when unstressed. To, for, and, of, can, have, and other function words may sound very different in the middle of a sentence than when spoken alone. The strong form exists, but natural rhythm often selects the weak form. Consider I can help. In a neutral sentence, can may be weak while help is strong. In yes, I can, the word can carries contrast and becomes stronger. Meaning controls pronunciation. A listener who understands stress can distinguish ability, correction, and emphasis more accurately. Train strong and weak forms in pairs. Say, I can do it then, I cannot do it, then, yes, I can. Notice how the location of stress changes what is easy to hear. Record yourself. Listening to your own production makes reduction less mysterious. Contractions create another layer. I will, she has, they would, we are, and he is often shrink in ordinary speech. Some contractions have more than one grammatical interpretation. He'd can represent he had or he would. The following word and context resolve the meaning. If you wait for the contraction alone to explain everything, you will struggle. Train contractions inside full frames. He'd already left points to he had. He'd probably agree points to he would. She's been working uses she has. She's ready uses she is. Grammar and context turn a small sound into a clear meaning. Assimilation occurs when neighboring sounds influence one another. A sound may change because the mouth is already preparing for what comes next. In quick speech, combinations involving did you, would you, or could you can develop a blended quality. Different accents handle these combinations differently, but the general lesson is the same. Familiar words can create an unfamiliar combined sound. Do not memorize a cartoon spelling of every reduced phrase. That can create new confusion. Train with real audio and the standard written form. Your goal is to connect natural variation to correct meaning, not to replace English spelling with an inaccurate private system. Elision means a sound is omitted, especially in difficult consonant clusters. In a phrase such as next day, one consonant may be less audible. In old man, the final consonant may be weakened depending on the speaker and speed. The sentence remains understandable because context and rhythm support it. Learners often respond by trying to pronounce every consonant with maximum force. That may improve clarity in some cases, but it can also make speech stiff and separate. First, learn to hear the cluster, then practice a comfortable, clear version. Natural does not mean careless. Clear does not mean robotic. Reduced forms of common phrases deserve special attention. Going to, want to, have to, got to, kind of, sort of, a lot of, and out of frequently compress. The exact sound depends on accent, speed, and emphasis. Instead of asking, what is the one correct reduced pronunciation? Ask, what range of natural forms should my ear recognize? A phrase can be careful in one moment and compressed in another. A speaker who is correcting you may pronounce each word strongly. The same speaker may reduce it when the phrase is predictable. Your ear needs flexibility, not one rigid model. The best training method is the slow to natural ladder. Choose one short sentence from authentic speech. First, hear the normal version. Then use a slowed version if necessary. Identify the words. Say the sentence carefully. Next, connect the words while preserving the main stress. Increase speed gradually. Finally, return to the original recording. Do not remain at slow speed too long. Very slow audio can distort rhythm and create a false listening environment. Use it as a microscope, not as a permanent home. Backchaining helps with long connected phrases. Start from the end and build backward. For I should have told you earlier, begin with earlier, then told you earlier, then should have told you earlier, then the complete sentence. The final stress and rhythm remain stable while the phrase grows. Another method is sound mapping. Listen to a sentence and mark the strongest beats with capital letters or underlining. Mark weak areas with smaller writing. Draw lines between connected words. This is not a formal phonetic analysis. It is a visual map of what your ear notices. For example, in I was trying to get in touch with you, the main beats may fall on trying, touch, and you, depending on intention. The rest moves between them. When you hear the beats, the compressed middle becomes easier to place. You should also study sentence final sounds. Learners often lose grammatical endings because they listen mainly for the beginning of words. Past tense, plurals, and third-person endings may be quiet but meaningful. Use minimal contrast practice. He works there, and he worked there. They call, and they called. 1 test and 2 tests. Listen inside sentences, not only as isolated pairs. Context sometimes makes the ending redundant, but training it improves accuracy. If a sentence includes yesterday, you may understand past time, even when the final sound is weak. However, in other situations, the ending may be the only clue. A flexible listener uses both sound and context. Fast speech also contains repairs. Speakers begin one phrase, stop, and replace it. They repeat words while thinking. They add I mean or rather, and let me put it another way. A learner expecting perfect sentences may become confused by these false starts. Listen for intention through the repair. If someone says, we need to finish on Thursday, actually, Friday morning, the correction controls the final meaning. Do not hold the first date. Spoken language is created in real time. The final version may arrive after hesitation. Emotional speech changes reduction. Excitement can speed up and raise pitch. Anger may create strong stress and clipped rhythm. Sadness may lower energy and lengthen pauses. Whispered or tired speech can weaken consonants. Your connected speech training should eventually include emotion, not only neutral sentences. Movies are difficult, partly because actors speak while moving, crying, eating, turning away, or reacting. Background music competes with dialogue. Do not use the hardest scene as proof that your listening is weak. Break the challenge into layers. First, train clean conversational speech. Then add speed, accents, noise, and emotion gradually. A practical weekly focus can isolate one feature. Spend several days noticing linking. The next week, focus on weak forms, then contractions, then consonant clusters. This selective attention changes perception. Once you learn a feature, you begin hearing it everywhere, but avoid becoming obsessed with labels. In real listening, you do not need to think, that was assimilation followed by elision. You need recognition. Technical terms explain the system. Repeated sound builds the skill. Your mouth is an important listening instrument. If you can produce a connected phrase comfortably, your ear becomes more likely to recognize it. Say the sentence with the speaker. Feel where your jaw relaxes, where the tongue moves quickly, and where stress falls. Physical knowledge supports auditory knowledge. Record and compare, but do not chase exact imitation of a person's identity. Copy timing, connection, and clarity. Keep your own voice. The goal is intelligible, flexible speech and accurate listening, not the removal of your background. Connected speech stops feeling like missing English when you understand that the language is still present in rhythm, grammar, context, and predictable sound movement. Nothing magical happened to the words. Their spoken shape changed. The page gives you the pieces. Conversation shows you how those pieces move. Train the movement, and the disappearing sounds will begin to return. Chapter 6. Let rhythm carry the meaning. A sentence is not only a row of words. It is a pattern of energy. Some parts step forward. Other parts move into the background. Some syllables stretch. Others pass quickly. The voice rises, falls, pauses, accelerates, and changes direction. These movements help the listener understand what matters. Learners who study mainly through text often hear speech as a damaged version of writing. They expect equal clarity from every word. When natural rhythm does not provide that equality, they assume the speaker is too fast. But rhythm is not damage. Rhythm is organization. English often gives stronger stress to words that carry new or contrasting information. Smaller grammatical words may be compressed between those beats. If you learn to follow the beats, the sentence stops feeling like a flat wall of sound. Take a simple sentence, I sent the report this morning. In a neutral situation, sent, report, and morning may carry the main energy. But stress can move. I sent the report corrects who sent it. I sent the report corrects the action. I sent the report distinguishes it from another document. I sent it this morning corrects the time. Rhythm is meaning. When listening, ask not only what words were spoken, but which idea the speaker made prominent. That question often reveals the real point faster than a transcript. Begin with beat listening. Choose a short sentence and tap your finger on the strongest syllables. Do not tap every word. Listen for the places where the voice lands. Repeat the sentence while keeping those beats. The weak material should fit between them without receiving equal force. At first, you may exaggerate. That is acceptable. Training often makes a feature larger so the brain can notice it. Later, your production becomes more natural. Rhythm explains why some long sentences do not take much more time than short ones. Speakers compress the weak material to maintain movement between stressed beats. If your ear expects every syllable to receive full time, the compressed section feels impossible. Once you follow the beat, the weak words find their place. For example, compare "kids learn fast" with "the kids could have learned it much faster." The second sentence contains more words, but the central beats may still fall on "kids learned" and "faster." The smaller words move between them. Your ear should anchor to the beats rather than count syllables. Intonation adds another layer. A falling pattern often suggests completion, certainty, or finality. A rising pattern may signal a question, uncertainty, continuation, or invitation for response. A fall rise can suggest reservation, politeness, partial agreement, or an unfinished implication. These patterns vary across accents and personalities, but they carry important clues. Listen to the word "really" spoken in different ways. It can express surprise, doubt, enthusiasm, irritation, or a request for more information. The dictionary meaning remains the same. The melody changes the message. This is why subtitles cannot fully replace listening. Text gives the words, but often removes attitude. A sentence such as, "That was clever," may be praise or criticism. Tone decides. Train emotional contrast. Choose one sentence and say it as if you are relieved, skeptical, excited, disappointed, and impatient. Then listen to recordings of real speakers and identify the attitude before focusing on every word. Your ear learns to read human intention. Pauses are also part of rhythm. A pause may separate ideas, create emphasis, show uncertainty, or give the speaker time to plan. Learners sometimes interpret every pause as the end of a sentence and lose the connection when the speaker continues. Notice thought groups. Speakers divide long messages into meaningful units. After we reviewed the numbers, pause, we realized, pause. The original plan was too expensive. Each group adds a layer. If you recognize the groups, you do not need to hold the entire sentence as one block. Practice/reading. Take a transcript and mark natural thought groups with slashes. Then listen and adjust your marks to match the speaker. Read aloud using the same grouping. This develops both comprehension and delivery. Thought groups often contain one main stressed word. That word acts as the center. After we reviewed the numbers may be the center. In the original plan was too expensive. Plan and expensive may be prominent. When you hear the center, the group becomes easier to remember. Rhythm can reveal politeness. Requests often use softer openings, wider pitch movement, and less direct stress. "Could you possibly send that again?" sounds different from "send that again." The grammar matters, but the vocal design also shapes the relationship. Rhythm can reveal correction. If a speaker says, "I said Tuesday, not Thursday," the contrasted words receive strong energy. Even if the surrounding phrase is weak, the decision-critical information stands out. Train yourself to listen for contrastive stress in meetings, instructions, and negotiations. Rhythm can reveal uncertainty. A speaker may slow down, lengthen a vowel, use fillers, or allow the voice to rise. "I think it might work" can sound confident or doubtful depending on delivery. If you hear only the words, you may overestimate commitment. For professional listening, this matters. A colleague saying, "That should be fine," with a flat, hesitant tone, may not be giving the same assurance as someone saying it decisively. Meaning lives in the combination of language and delivery. To train rhythm, use humming. Listen to a sentence and hum its melody without words. Copy the rise, fall, length, and pauses. This removes the pressure of pronunciation and makes the musical shape visible. Then add the words back while preserving the pattern. Another exercise is nonsense shadowing. Replace the exact words with simple sounds while copying timing and stress. This may feel strange, but it proves that rhythm can be trained separately. Once the pattern is comfortable, return to the real sentence. Use content substitution. Keep the rhythm frame but change one key word. I need to talk to you. I want to talk to you. I tried to talk to you. This helps you feel how grammar words remain weak while the central message changes. Poetry, speeches, and well-delivered interviews can sharpen rhythm awareness, but ordinary conversation is essential. Real people do not always produce elegant patterns. They interrupt, restart, and overlap. Your ear must learn both organized rhythm and messy interaction. Overlapping speech often frightens learners because two streams compete. Do not try to understand both equally. Follow the main speaker's stress and intention. Notice when the second person is giving a brief signal, such as agreement, surprise, or encouragement. Small responses like right, exactly, really, and I see are part of conversational rhythm. Back-channel signals do not usually take control of the conversation. They tell the speaker to continue. Learning them helps you understand why someone may speak while another person is talking. It also helps your own speaking sound engaged rather than silent. Turn-taking has rhythmic clues. A speaker may slow down, lower pitch, complete a grammar structure, and pause to offer the floor. Or they may hold the floor with a rising tone, a filler, or an unfinished clause. If you learn these signals, you interrupt less accidentally and respond more naturally. This connects listening directly to confidence. Some learners know what to say, but enter at the wrong moment because they do not hear the conversational opening. They wait too long, someone else speaks, and they feel invisible. Turn-taking is not only vocabulary, it is rhythm perception. Practice with interview clips. Pause just before one speaker finishes and predict whether they will continue or yield the turn. Listen for falling pitch, completion, and a final stressed word. Then continue. Over time, you begin to feel the opening. A strong rhythm routine can be built in 10 minutes. Listen to one sentence for meaning. Tap the main beats. Hum the melody. Mark thought groups. Repeat the sentence with the same energy. Change one key word while keeping the pattern. Finally, say the sentence naturally in your own voice. Do not copy rhythm without meaning. A learner can imitate sounds impressively while understanding nothing. That is performance, not fluency. Always connect the pattern to intention. Why did the speaker stress that word? Why did the voice rise? What relationship is being managed? What response is expected? Likewise, do not turn rhythm into a rigid formula. English has many accents and speaking styles. A quiet speaker may use subtle stress. A dramatic speaker may use wide pitch movement. Some varieties of English have different timing patterns. Train your ear to notice prominence and grouping, rather than demand one ideal melody. Your accent does not need to disappear. Every speaker has an accent. The goal is to control stress and grouping well enough that your meaning is clear, and to recognize those features across other voices. Rhythm reduces cognitive load because it tells the brain where to spend attention. Strong beats carry information. Thought groups divide memory. Intonation signals attitude and completion. Pauses organize the message. Once you hear these structures, speed becomes less threatening. A fast sentence with clear rhythm can be easier than a slow sentence spoken in an unfamiliar pattern. This is why simply asking speakers to slow down does not solve everything. Your ear must learn how English organizes time. When you listen today, stop counting words. Listen for movement. Where does the voice land? Where does it soften? Where does it turn? Where does it invite you in? Where does it close the idea? The rhythm is not decoration added after the message. The rhythm is carrying the message. Chapter 7. Use the microloop method. Most learners choose listening material that is too long for serious training. They play a 20-minute podcast, understand part of it, miss part of it, and finish with a vague feeling. The audio was consumed, but the ear was not necessarily changed. Deep improvement often happens inside a very small piece of sound. 10 seconds can contain linking, reduction, stress, a useful phrase, a grammar frame, and an emotional intention. When you train that small section intelligently, you give the brain enough repetition to build accurate recognition. The micro-loop method uses short audio, usually 5 to 20 seconds, repeated through several stages. Each stage has a different purpose. You are not pressing replay until boredom. You are directing attention. First, select the right loop. It should contain natural, useful English. It should be difficult enough that you miss something on the first listen, but not so difficult that the entire section is meaningless. Clear conversational audio is better than a chaotic action scene when you are learning the method. Listen once without text. Do not pause. Identify the situation and the speaker's intention. This first pass protects meaning from being buried under analysis. Listen a second time and write only what you are confident you heard. Leave spaces for uncertainty. Do not invent words to make the sentence grammatical. Honest gaps are useful. Listen a third time and focus on the gaps. Notice whether the missing area is weak, connected, unfamiliar, or simply too fast for your current recognition. Make a best attempt. Now check the transcript. This is the reveal stage. Compare the sound you imagined with the actual language. Circle known words you failed to hear. Underline genuinely new vocabulary. Mark connected boundaries. Identify the main stress. The known words are your highest value targets. New vocabulary requires learning, but known words that disappeared reveal a weakness in your sound dictionary. Repairing them produces immediate listening growth. Listen again while reading. Point to the words as they occur. Notice where the voice moves faster than the text. Notice which syllables are weak. Do not judge the speaker for failing to pronounce the page. Study the spoken design. Next, close the transcript and listen again. Many learners experience a sudden change here. The phrase that sounded like noise becomes visible in the sound. This moment is evidence that perception can be trained. The audio did not change. Your expectation did. Now repeat the loop in short sections. Use backchaining for difficult lines. Copy the main stress and connection. Record yourself once. Compare timing, not only individual sounds. Then perform a delayed repetition. Hear the line, wait 2 seconds, and say it from memory. The delay forces your brain to hold the phrase as a meaningful unit. If you can only repeat immediately, you may be echoing without processing. Next, paraphrase the line. Say the same meaning with different words. This proves that comprehension is present. If the speaker says, "I did not realize how serious it was," you might say, "I did not understand the seriousness at first." Your paraphrase does not need to be elegant. It needs to preserve meaning. Finally, use one phrase from the loop in a new personal sentence. If the phrase is, "I did not realize," say, "I did not realize the store closed early," or "I did not realize you were waiting." This transfers the phrase from borrowed audio into your active language. That complete process may take 10 minutes for 10 seconds of audio. Some learners will call it slow. It is not slow. It is concentrated. You are building several abilities at once: global comprehension, detailed recognition, sound-to-text mapping, pronunciation, memory, paraphrasing, and transfer. Compare that with watching 10 minutes passively. Passive exposure has value, especially for enjoyment and broad familiarity, but it cannot replace deliberate repair. You need both wide listening and deep listening. Wide listening exposes you to topics, voices, and vocabulary. Deep listening changes specific weaknesses. A balanced week might include relaxed listening on several days and micro-loop training on 3 or 4 days. Do not turn every piece of English into labor. Enjoyment keeps you connected. Precision makes you stronger. The micro-loop method also helps diagnose plateaus. If your listening has not improved despite many hours, examine a short clip. Can you identify word boundaries? Can you hear weak forms? Can you repeat the rhythm? Can you hold the phrase in memory? Can you explain why you missed it? The answer reveals what broad exposure may be hiding. Use loops from different functions. One loop may contain a request, another may contain disagreement, another may tell part of a story, another may explain a process. Variety of function creates flexible recognition. Keep the speaker consistent for several days when introducing a new level of difficulty. Familiarity with one voice allows you to focus on language patterns. Then test the same patterns with a new voice. This sequence separates speaker familiarity from real learning. Do not loop an unclear section 50 times without checking. Repetition of confusion can strengthen the wrong interpretation. After a few honest attempts, use the transcript or reliable captions. Training requires feedback. At the same time, do not read first. If text appears before your ear tries, your eyes may solve the problem and create false confidence. Always give listening an independent first attempt. Captions are useful only when accurate. Automatically generated captions can contain errors, especially with names, accents, technical terms, and overlapping speech. If the text contradicts strong contextual evidence, verify with another source when possible. Do not train your ear around a faulty transcript. A micro-loop notebook can be simple. Record the source, date, first understanding, missing phrase, reason for difficulty, useful chunk, and final understanding. Keep only 1 or 2 loops per session. Quality matters more than volume. Return to old loops through spaced review. Listen again the next day without text, then after 3 days, then after a week. If recognition remains fast, the pattern is becoming stable. If it disappears, repeat the repair stage. Spaced review prevents the common illusion of mastery. A phrase may feel easy immediately after 10 repetitions because it is still in short-term memory. Real learning is shown when the phrase remains recognizable later and appears in a new voice. Create a transfer test. After mastering I should have checked. Listen for others should have phrases in a new clip. Can you recognize, you should have told me, or we should have waited? The original loop taught a pattern. The transfer test proves the pattern can travel. Speed ladders can make loops more challenging. Begin at normal speed. Slow slightly for diagnosis. Return to normal. Then, if the tool allows, listen a little faster than normal. Finally, return to normal again. After the faster version, normal speed may feel spacious. Use this carefully. Extreme speed can distort sound and encourage guessing. Noise ladders can also build resilience. Master a clean loop first, then play it at lower volume or with mild background noise. Do not start with noise before recognition exists. Challenge should be added after the pattern is stable. Memory ladders connect listening to speaking. Repeat immediately. Then after 2 seconds, then after 5 seconds, then summarize without copying, then answer a question about the content. Each stage moves farther from echoing and closer to communication. The method can be adapted for beginners. Use 5-second loops, clear speech, familiar topics, and 1 target phrase. Intermediate learners can use 10 to 15 seconds and natural conversation. Advanced learners can use overlapping speech, humor, implied meaning, or unfamiliar accents. Difficulty should rise in one dimension at a time. Do not simultaneously increase speed, accent difficulty, background noise, vocabulary, topic complexity, and clip length. When everything changes, you cannot identify the cause of failure. A smart progression may keep the topic familiar while changing the accent, or keep the accent familiar while increasing speed, or keep speed stable while adding emotional speech. Controlled challenge produces clearer adaptation. The micro-loop method also builds patience. Modern media trains the mind to skip, swipe, and search for novelty. Ear training often requires staying with one sound after the excitement disappears. That is where detail becomes visible. Boredom can be reduced by changing the task on each repetition. Listen for purpose. Listen for exact wording. Listen for stress, listen for connection, copy, delay, paraphrase, respond. The audio stays the same, but your attention changes. You should stop the session before concentration collapses. 10 focused minutes are stronger than 40 minutes of irritated replay. Consistency matters more than exhausting yourself. There will be loops that remain difficult. Perhaps the accent is unfamiliar, the recording is poor, or the speaker uses a cultural reference you do not know. Do not treat every failure as a personal defect. Identify whether the clip is trainable at your current level. Sometimes the correct decision is to choose a clearer source and return later. A good loop gives you a visible win. The first attempt contains confusion. The final attempt contains recognition. That difference teaches the brain that effort changes perception. It also gives you a more honest form of confidence. Confidence is not telling yourself that you understand everything. Confidence is knowing what to do when you do not understand. With the microloop method, confusion is no longer a dead end. It is the first stage of a process. You listen, locate, check, map, repeat, remember, transform, and transfer. Do not measure a listening session by how many minutes passed. Measure it by what became recognizable. A small loop, trained deeply, can open a large part of the language. Chapter 8. Calibrate the ear and the mouth. Listening and speaking are often taught as separate subjects. One lesson trains comprehension, another lesson trains pronunciation, a third lesson trains conversation. The brain does not keep these abilities in isolated rooms. What your mouth can produce influences what your ear can recognize, and what your ear can distinguish influences what your mouth can control. This relationship can be called ear-mouth calibration. Your ear receives a pattern, your mouth attempts to reproduce it. Your recording returns the result to your ear. You notice the difference and adjust. Each cycle makes perception and production more accurate. Many learners avoid speaking practice until they believe their listening is strong enough. That delays progress. Production gives the brain physical information about sound. When you learn how a phrase feels in the mouth, its spoken form becomes easier to identify. Consider a connected phrase such as, "What did you decide?" A learner may understand every word visually, but fail to catch the natural combination. When the learner practices the movement, stress, and timing aloud, the compressed sound stops being random. The mouth has created a model the ear can recognize. Calibration is not blind imitation. If you repeat without meaning, you may copy a surface sound and forget it quickly. A useful cycle contains intention, listening, imitation, comparison, adjustment, and independent use. Begin with intention. Before repeating a line, know what the speaker is doing. Are they asking for information, correcting a misunderstanding, expressing surprise, or giving reassurance? The same sentence can sound different depending on purpose. Next, listen to the line without speaking. Notice the main beat, the thought groups, and the emotional direction. Do not rush to open your mouth. Accurate imitation begins with accurate attention. Then speak with the recording at low volume. This is simultaneous shadowing. Your voice should follow just behind or nearly with the speaker. Focus on timing rather than perfect individual sounds. If the sentence is too long, use a shorter section. After that, pause the recording and say the line alone. This reveals whether your mouth learned the pattern or merely hid under the speaker's voice. Record your version. Compare it with the original. Listen for 3 things only: timing, main stress, and clarity. Do not attack yourself with 20 corrections. Choose the difference that most affects understanding. Perhaps your version gives equal stress to every word. Perhaps you pause inside a phrase that should stay connected. Perhaps the important word is too weak. Correct one feature and record again. Finally, use the phrase in a new situation. If the original line is, "I did not expect that to happen," create your own, "I did not expect the meeting to end early." Preserve the rhythm frame while changing the content. This proves that the pattern belongs to you. There are several forms of shadowing. and each trains a different ability. Immediate shadowing places your voice close behind the recording. It develops speed and coordination. Delayed shadowing waits 1 or 2 seconds, which develops memory and chunk processing. Silent shadowing moves the mouth without full voice, useful when you cannot speak loudly. Interpretive shadowing copies the speaker's emotion and intention. Retelling shadowing listens to a section and reproduces the meaning in your own words. Do not use the hardest form first. Immediate shadowing at full speed can turn into uncontrolled noise if the material is above your level. Start with listen and repeat, then overlap short phrases, then delay, then retell. The aim is not to become an echo. An echo has no intention. A speaker chooses meaning. Use shadowing to acquire sound patterns, then step away from the recording and communicate. Backchaining remains valuable here. Long phrases often collapse because the beginning is practiced while the ending becomes weak. Building from the end stabilizes the final stress. For I would not have agreed to that. Begin with to that, then agreed to that, then have agreed to that, then the whole sentence. Front chaining can help with planning. Begin with I, then I would not have, and continue. Compare both methods. Back chaining protects endings. Front chaining feels closer to real-time sentence construction. Minimal pair work can sharpen distinctions that affect listening. If two sounds are difficult in your language background, practice hearing and saying them in meaningful words and sentences. But do not spend months on isolated pairs while ignoring rhythm and context. A small sound matters most when it changes meaning or clarity. For example, if ship and sheep are difficult, hear them in the ship arrived and the sheep escaped. If final consonants are difficult, train price and prize, cap and cab, or rice and rise inside sentences. Context makes the distinction memorable. Vowel length, consonant voicing, and word stress can all affect recognition. The word, family photograph, photography, and photographic changes stress. If your brain stores only the letters, the related spoken forms may feel unrelated. Say the family aloud and notice the shifting center. Calibration also improves your ability to hear grammatical endings. When you practice saying worked, played, wanted, asks, needs, and watches correctly in sentences, your ear becomes more sensitive to the different ending patterns. Do not overpronounce every ending. Learn clear, natural production. The purpose is to know what acoustic clue may appear, not to create an artificial speech style. Use mirror practice sparingly. Watching the mouth can help with lip and jaw position, but listening should remain central. A sound can look correct and still have the wrong timing or stress. Your ear must judge the result. Recordings are honest in a useful way. Your voice inside your head sounds different because you hear it through both air and bone. A recording removes that internal effect. The first experience may feel uncomfortable. Do not confuse unfamiliarity with bad pronunciation. Listen like a coach, not an enemy. Identify one success and one adjustment. The phrase stayed connected, but the final word needs clearer stress. This kind of feedback produces change. My voice is terrible produces avoidance. Keep old recordings. After 30 days, compare the same passage. Progress may appear in smoother timing, fewer pauses, clearer stress, and greater confidence. Daily change is hard to feel. Recorded evidence makes it visible. Ear-mouth calibration is especially useful for phrases you understand but cannot say quickly. These phrases often remain passive because your brain has no motor plan. Repeating them in meaningful frames builds a ready path. Suppose you want to use what I am trying to say is, practice it as one opening, not 6 separate words. Add several endings. What I am trying to say is that we need more time. What I am trying to say is that the risk is too high. What I am trying to say is that I agree with the goal. The frame becomes available under pressure. Build response frames for real conversation. That is a good question. Let me think for a second. I see where you are coming from. I have a slightly different view. The first thing that comes to mind is, These phrases buy time and organize speech. When your mouth knows them automatically, your brain has space to plan the main answer. Listen for how skilled speakers use these frames. They are rarely delivered as flat textbook sentences. The voice may slow to show thought, rise to invite connection, or stress one word to signal contrast. Copy function, not just form. Calibration can happen through reading aloud, but the model matters. Reading without audio may reinforce your existing rhythm. Use a recording when possible. Listen first, mark thought groups, then read with the model, and finally read independently. Audiobooks with matching text can be useful, especially for clear narration. However, narration is not identical to conversation. Include interviews and dialogue so your ear-mouth system learns spontaneous speech as well as polished reading. Singing can improve rhythm and memory, but song pronunciation is often stretched or altered. Use music for enjoyment and broad sound awareness, not as your only pronunciation model. Tongue twisters can build coordination, but they do not automatically improve conversation. Use them briefly for a specific sound or cluster, then transfer the movement into normal phrases. The most effective practice is always connected to communication. Say the phrase because you can imagine needing it. Copy the emotion because you understand the relationship. Change the example because you want to express your own meaning. There is also a listening benefit to speaking at different speeds. Say a sentence carefully, naturally, and quickly. Notice what changes and what must remain clear. This teaches you why speakers reduce some areas while preserving the important beats. Do not force speed before coordination. Fast, inaccurate repetition strengthens confusion. Build smoothness first. Speed follows familiarity. A useful 5-minute calibration session looks like this. Choose one sentence. Listen 3 times. Identify purpose and stress. Repeat in sections. Shadow once. Record once. Correct one feature. Use the frame in 2 new sentences, then stop. Small sessions repeated daily produce better results than rare, exhausting pronunciation workouts. Motor learning needs frequent contact. As the ear and mouth become aligned, several changes occur. You recognize familiar phrases earlier. You anticipate how contractions will sound. You hold longer chunks in memory. Your responses begin with less hesitation. Your pronunciation becomes easier to understand because stress and grouping improve. Most importantly, English stops feeling trapped behind your teeth. The sound you hear begins to have a physical path into your own voice. The ear learns the pattern. The mouth confirms it. The recording reveals the gap. Repetition closes it. That cycle is not imitation for its own sake. It is how listening becomes speaking momentum. Chapter 9. Become flexible across voices and accents. A learner can understand one teacher perfectly and still struggle with the next person. This often creates a false conclusion. I understood English yesterday, so why is my listening bad today? The answer may be speaker familiarity rather than language level. Every voice is a new acoustic environment. Pitch, speed, vowel quality, consonant strength, rhythm, age, emotion, microphone quality, and accent all affect the signal. Your brain needs time to adapt. Even native listeners sometimes require a short adjustment period with an unfamiliar voice. Accent flexibility is not the ability to understand everyone immediately. It is the ability to adapt without panic. Begin by removing one harmful belief. There is no single voice called real English. English is spoken across continents, communities, professions, and identities. American, British, Australian, Irish, Nigerian, Indian, Pakistani, Singaporean, South African, Canadian, Caribbean, and many other varieties are real forms of English. Within each country, accents vary by region, class, age, and community. You do not need equal mastery of every variety. Your goals should guide exposure. If you work with colleagues from several countries, train those voices. If you plan to study in one region, build familiarity there. If your goal is global media, widen gradually. The worst strategy is random accent shock. A learner listens to a clear American teacher on Monday, a fast regional comedy on Tuesday, a technical lecture on Wednesday, and an old film with poor audio on Thursday. Each clip changes too many variables. The learner feels constantly defeated and learns little about the cause. Use controlled variation. First, keep topic and difficulty stable while changing the speaker. Listen to several people answering the same simple question. Because the content is predictable, your brain can focus on voice differences. Next, keep the speaker variety stable while changing the topic. Then add faster speed. Then add informal conversation. One dimension at a time allows adaptation. Create accent anchors. For a new speaker, find a short clip with transcript. Study their vowel patterns, common reductions, and rhythm. You do not need a complete linguistic description. Notice 2 or 3 features that repeatedly affect you. Perhaps the speaker's R is weak or strong. Perhaps certain vowels differ from your main model. Perhaps the speaker uses a quicker rhythm or places stress differently. Once your brain identifies stable features, the voice becomes less unpredictable. Listen to the same person for several days. This gives your perception time to normalize. A voice that feels difficult on day 1 may feel much clearer by day 4, even without explicit study. The brain learns the speaker, then test transfer with another speaker from a similar region. Notice what transfers and what does not. Avoid assuming that one person represents an entire country. Accents are patterns, not stereotypes. Names and local references often create difficulty. A sentence may be clear except for a place, person, product, or cultural event you do not know. Do not call that a general listening failure. Proper nouns are hard because context and vocabulary provide less support. Before important content, preview key names and terms. In a lecture, review the topic vocabulary. In a news report, know the main people and places. Familiar names become audible. Speed is also personal. Some speakers use many pauses but compress phrases. Others speak continuously with clear articulation. One may sound fast because of rhythm, another because of reduced consonants, another because of unfamiliar vocabulary. Diagnose the actual challenge. A useful voice comparison exercise uses the same sentence spoken by several people. Listen for what remains stable, the main stress, grammar, and meaning. Then notice what changes: vowels, consonants, pitch, and timing. This teaches your brain to separate essential structure from surface variation. Technology can help. Text-to-speech voices, language learning platforms, interviews, and public recordings provide variety. But choose natural, high-quality audio. Artificial voices can be useful for repetition, yet they may lack the hesitations and reductions of spontaneous speech. Do not become dependent on studio sound. Once your foundation is stable, include phone audio, online meetings, outdoor interviews, and ordinary microphones. Real communication does not always arrive in perfect quality. Build a clarity ladder. Level 1 is clear narration with transcript. Level 2 is clear conversation. Level 3 is spontaneous conversation with mild hesitation. Level 4 adds unfamiliar accents. Level 5 adds noise, overlap, or emotional speech. Move upward gradually and return to lower levels when training a new feature. This prevents 2 opposite mistakes. Some learners remain forever with slow educational speech and never adapt. Others jump into the hardest material and destroy confidence. Progress needs challenge that is difficult but interpretable. Accent flexibility also depends on tolerance for ambiguity. With a familiar voice, you may recognize 95%. With a new voice, recognition may drop temporarily. Do not interpret the drop as lost ability. Your system is adapting. Stay with the speaker long enough for the ear to recalibrate. The first 30 seconds may be the hardest. Listen for repeated words, topic, and rhythm. Once the voice's pattern becomes familiar, comprehension often rises. Use transcript comparison carefully. Identify consistent differences rather than treating every missed word as random. Did a particular vowel repeatedly confuse you? Did word final consonants sound weaker? Did the speaker place stress where you did not expect it? One recurring feature can explain many errors. Then practice that feature through a few words and phrases. Return to the original speaker. The goal is not to copy the accent perfectly. The goal is to make its signals meaningful. Respect matters. An unfamiliar accent is not incorrect English. Mocking or judging the speaker closes curiosity and makes learning harder. Listen for communication, not superiority. At the same time, not every pronunciation is equally clear in every context. Speakers may need to adjust when communicating internationally. You may also need to clarify or ask for repetition. Respect does not require pretending that understanding is effortless. Use repair phrases confidently. I am still getting used to the audio. Could you repeat the last part? Did you say 13 or 30? Could you spell the name? Let me confirm the address. These are professional communication skills, not admissions of failure. Train numerical accents. Numbers are high risk because vowel and stress differences can create confusion. Practice dates, prices, phone numbers, percentages, and times across voices. Confirm critical information. Train common workplace terms across speakers. Words such as schedule, project, data, process, and advertisement may have recognized pronunciation differences. Knowing the range prevents surprise. Train listening to international English, where speakers use different but understandable grammar or vocabulary patterns. Real global communication may not follow one textbook variety exactly. Focus on meaning and clarify when necessary. Humor and idiom remain difficult across cultures. An accent may be clear, but the joke may depend on shared knowledge. Separate linguistic sound from cultural understanding. Learn both, but do not blame your ear for missing a reference you have never encountered. A weekly accent flexibility session can use 4 speakers discussing one topic. Listen first without text and summarize each person. Then, check difficult sections. Record recurring features. Finally, retell the shared topic in your own voice. Do not collect accents like trophies. The purpose is confidence and access. You want to enter a conversation without becoming mentally frozen because the voice differs from your favorite teacher. Flexibility grows when you hold meaning more strongly than one expected pronunciation. You know the phrase, the grammar, the context, and the likely intention. A different vowel no longer destroys the whole sentence because the rest of the evidence supports recognition. This is another reason chunks, rhythm, and prediction matter. They provide stability across surface differences. Individual sounds may change, but conversational functions and sentence structures remain recognizable. As your exposure widens, you will discover that adaptation becomes faster. The first new accent may require days, the next may require hours. Eventually, your brain learns how to learn a voice. You listen for patterns instead of reacting with fear. That ability is more valuable than perfect familiarity with one speaker. Real life changes voices constantly. A customer calls, a new colleague joins, a lecturer visits, a traveler asks a question, an interview features several guests. Do not build an English ear that works only in one classroom. Build an ear that can enter a new voice. Find the rhythm, identify the landmarks, adjust its expectations, and remain calm while understanding grows. Chapter 10. Listen under pressure. Without losing the present, listening in a quiet room with headphones is one skill. Listening when someone expects an answer is another. Pressure changes the way the brain processes sound. A phrase you understand easily in practice may disappear during a meeting, phone call, interview, examination, or conversation with a confident speaker. The difference is not always language knowledge. Pressure consumes working memory. During a real interaction, your brain may be doing 6 jobs at once. It is identifying the words, interpreting the message, translating, planning a response, monitoring grammar, and judging how you appear. That final job is often the most destructive. While part of your mind asks, "Do I sound intelligent?" another part misses what the speaker is saying. The solution is not to force yourself to become fearless. The solution is to reduce the number of simultaneous tasks and train recovery. First, stop preparing your full answer while the other person is still speaking. This habit feels efficient, but it often damages listening. You hear the first half of the question, decide what you want to say, and then ignore the second half. Your answer may be fluent, but irrelevant. Instead, hold only a small response note. If someone asks a long question, keep 1 or 2 key words in mind, wait for completion, then take a short pause. A 2-second pause is less damaging than a 30-second answer to the wrong question. Use holding phrases when you need time. Let me think about that. There are 2 parts to my answer. The first thing I would say is, these phrases are not signs of weakness. Skilled speakers use them to organize thought. Second, remove internal translation from high-pressure listening. Translation may return automatically when you are nervous because the first language feels safe, but it doubles the workload. Train simple, direct meaning before the event. Rehearse the likely topic in English. Review useful phrases as sound. Pre-activate the vocabulary. If you have a job interview, listen to common interview questions in several voices. Do not memorize one perfect answer. Practice recognizing the question quickly, identifying its purpose, and giving 3 different short responses. Flexibility is safer than a script. If you have a meeting, review the agenda, names, numbers, and likely decisions. Prediction reduces pressure because fewer ideas arrive unexpectedly. Third, manage the body. Listening is cognitive, but the body affects attention. Tight shoulders, held breath, and a racing heart signal danger. Before the conversation, release the jaw, lower the shoulders, and breathe out slowly. The purpose is not relaxation for its own sake. It is to protect working memory. During the interaction, look at the speaker if culturally appropriate and visually possible. Facial movement, gesture, and turn-taking cues support comprehension. On a phone call, that support disappears, which is why phone listening often feels harder. Train phone listening separately. Use audio without video. Practice names, addresses, numbers, spelling, and confirmation. Learn to ask, could you say the last 4 digits again? Was that B, as in book? Let me read that back to you. Precision is more professional than pretending. Background noise creates another type of pressure. The brain must separate the target voice from competing sound. Begin with clean audio, then add mild noise after the phrase is familiar. Gradually increase difficulty. Do not expect the ear to learn a new pattern and fight heavy noise at the same time. In real noise, move closer, reduce the source if possible, and confirm key information. Good communication includes changing the environment. You do not receive extra points for suffering silently. Overlapping speech is common in groups. Follow one speaker at a time. Use gaze, stress, and topic to identify who holds the floor. If you miss a side comment, do not abandon the main message. Group listening requires selective attention. Meetings often contain references such as that, the earlier point, what she mentioned, or the second option. These expressions depend on the shared conversation history. Keep brief notes of decisions, names, and open questions. Notes reduce memory pressure and improve listening. Do not attempt to transcribe the meeting. Write landmarks, decision, owner, deadline, concern, next action. If you spend the whole meeting writing sentences, you may lose the discussion. Fast questions create special pressure because the listener feels forced to answer immediately. Train question recognition as complete patterns. What made you decide to? Asks for a reason behind a decision. How would you handle? Asks for a process. To what extent do you agree? Asks for a position with limits. When the question type is automatic, your brain can plan faster. Practice question transformation. Hear one question and restate it in simpler English before answering. What challenges did you encounter? Becomes, what problems did you face? This confirms meaning and gives planning time. If the question remains unclear, ask a targeted clarification. Do not say only, what? Say, are you asking about the first stage or the final result? Do you mean what I did personally? Could you repeat the part about the deadline? Specific questions recover communication quickly. Some learners avoid clarification because they fear looking weak. Then they answer incorrectly and create a larger problem. Strong communication is not silent guessing, it is active alignment. Pressure also appears when the speaker has authority. A boss, teacher, interviewer, or native speaker may trigger self-consciousness. Remember that status does not change the sound system. The sentence still contains landmarks, rhythm, and intention. Return attention from the person's status to the message's structure. You can simulate pressure safely. Set a timer. Play a question once. Give yourself 3 seconds to begin answering. Record the response. The goal is not perfection, it is staying functional. Next, practice interruption recovery. While answering, pause the timer or have a partner ask a follow-up. Train yourself to listen fully, acknowledge the new question, and adjust. Real conversations are not uninterrupted speeches. Practice partial understanding. Play a difficult clip once and give the best summary possible without replay. Then state what remains uncertain. This trains honesty. I understood that the schedule changed, but I missed the new date. In real life, that sentence leads directly to useful clarification. Practice emotional speakers. Listen to someone who is excited, frustrated, or hesitant. Identify the intention and the key request. Do not absorb the emotion so strongly that you lose the information. A calm listener can recognize both feeling and action. There is also pressure from perfectionism. The learner believes one mistake will expose years of weakness. That belief turns every conversation into a test. Replace the test mindset with a task mindset. Your task may be to understand the meeting time, learn the person's opinion, or solve the customer's problem. Success is completing the task, not displaying flawless English. A task mindset directs attention outward. Perfectionism directs attention inward. After a difficult conversation, review without self-punishment. What did you understand? Where did delay appear? Which phrase was unfamiliar? Did anxiety or vocabulary cause the problem? What one practice would prepare you for a similar situation? This turns experience into training data. Do not replay every awkward moment emotionally. Rehearse the improved version. If you failed to confirm a number, practice confirmation phrases. If you froze after a long question, practice summarizing questions. If you missed an accent, spend several days with that voice type. Pressure becomes manageable when recovery is automatic. You may miss a word, but you keep the direction. You may misunderstand, but you confirm. You may need time, but you use a holding phrase. You may feel nervous, but you remain in the conversation. That is the true goal. Not a mind that never experiences pressure, but a listening system that continues working inside it. The present sentence is the only sentence you can still understand. Do not sacrifice it while judging the sentence that has already passed. Breathe. Catch the landmarks. Wait for the question to finish. Confirm what matters. Answer the meaning you actually heard. Stay in the present. And pressure loses much of its power. Chapter 11. Turn listening into an immediate response. Many learners treat listening as a silent achievement. They understand a video, feel satisfied, and stop. But conversation does not end with understanding. A real listener must decide what the message requires and respond while the meaning is still active. This transition from listening to response is where many capable learners freeze. They understand the question, but the answer does not move. Their mind begins searching for grammar, vocabulary, and the perfect opening. Silence grows. Confidence falls. Eventually, they produce a sentence far below their actual level. The problem is not always speaking knowledge, it is response design. A response has stages. First, identify the speaker's purpose. Second, decide your position or action. Third, choose a simple opening. Fourth, add the necessary detail. If these stages become familiar, the answer begins faster. Suppose someone asks, "Do you think working from home makes teams less creative?" The purpose is to request an opinion, not a definition of remote work. Your position may be sometimes, but not always. Your opening can be, "I think it depends on how the team communicates." Then you add one reason and an example. A learner who skips purpose may answer with memorized facts. A learner who searches for a perfect sentence may remain silent. A learner with a response frame begins and builds. Train purpose recognition. Common purposes include requesting information, asking for an opinion, checking understanding, inviting a story, seeking advice, challenging a claim, giving an instruction, and asking for a decision. Each purpose has useful response shapes. For information, begin directly. The meeting starts at 9. For opinion, my view is that. For clarification, what I mean is. For advice, the first thing I would do is. For disagreement, I understand the point, but. For a story, the situation began when. For a decision, I would choose the second option because these openings are not scripts that limit you, they are launch points. An airplane needs a runway before it can move freely through the sky. A response frame gives your speech a runway. Build a small library of openings and train them until they are automatic. Do not memorize entire answers. Memorize the first 5 words that create direction. For example, I think the main reason is, what happened was, the way I see it, I have mixed feelings about that. The first step would be, I agree up to a point. I am not sure that is always true. From my experience, when the beginning is ready, your brain can plan the next sentence while your mouth is already moving. Listening should also tell you how long the answer needs to be. A casual question such as, "How was your weekend?" rarely requires a 5-minute speech. An interview question such as, "Tell me about a time you solved a difficult problem," requires a structured example. Strong speakers match response length to purpose. Train 3 answer sizes. A short answer contains 1 clear sentence. A medium answer contains a position, reason, and example. A long answer contains context, development, result, and reflection. Practice answering the same question at all 3 lengths. Question: Is social media useful for learning English? Short: yes, if you follow reliable teachers and practice actively. Medium: it can be useful because it gives you daily exposure, but passive scrolling is not enough. I improve more when I save 1 phrase and use it. Long: you can explain benefits, risks, your method, and a conclusion. This flexibility prevents 2 problems: 1-word answers and uncontrolled speeches. Immediate response training should begin with easy content. Play a simple statement and react naturally. If the speaker says, "I finally finished the project," respond, "That must be a relief." If they say, "I have never tried sushi," respond, "Really? Is there a reason?" If they say, "The train was delayed for 2 hours," respond, "That sounds frustrating." These reactions train social listening. You are not only proving that you heard the words, you are showing that you understood the human significance. Many learners respond with grammar rather than connection. Someone shares bad news, and the learner asks an unrelated question because that was the sentence they could form. Build response language for empathy, surprise, interest, agreement, and gentle challenge. For empathy, that sounds difficult. I can understand why you felt that way. I am sorry you had to deal with that. For interest, what happened next? How did you decide? What was the most surprising part? For agreement, that makes sense. I have noticed the same thing. I think you are right about that. For careful disagreement, I see the logic, but I am not fully convinced. That may be true in some cases. I would look at it differently. These phrases keep the conversation alive while giving your brain time. Train 1-second reactions. Use short clips and pause after each statement. Respond immediately with a natural reaction, not a full speech. This builds speed and social timing. Then train 5-second answers. Hear a question, take no more than 2 seconds to begin, and speak for 5 seconds. The goal is a clear start, not depth. Then train 30-second answers. Use a simple structure: answer, reason, example, finish. This teaches organization under time. For longer answers, use mental signposts. There are 2 reasons. The first is, another point is, for example, so overall. Signposts help both speaker and listener. They reduce the need to plan the entire response before starting. Retelling is one of the best bridges from listening to speaking. Listen to a short story or explanation. Close the text. Retell the meaning in your own words. Do not reproduce every sentence. Preserve the sequence, central facts, and conclusion. Retelling reveals whether your understanding is stable. You may feel that you understood while listening, but if you cannot explain the message, your mental model may be weak. The goal is not exact memory, it is organized meaning. Start with a 30-second clip, retell in 15 seconds, then retell in 30 seconds, then retell from another perspective. If the story describes a customer complaint, retell as the customer, then as the company. This deepens comprehension and flexibility. Summarizing trains compression, answering train selection, retelling train sequence, paraphrasing train's meaning. All four convert passive listening into active language. Question echoing can help when used naturally. If someone asks, "Why did you choose this field?" you might begin, "I chose this field because." The grammar is already available in the question. This reduces planning pressure. But do not repeat the entire question mechanically every time. Use the useful frame and move forward. Keyword recycling is another technique. If a speaker says, "The biggest challenge was keeping the team motivated," you can respond, "Keeping people motivated is difficult, especially when." Recycling creates cohesion and confirms that you understood. Listen for pronouns and references before responding. If someone says, "She told him it would not work," you need context to know who she, him, and it refer to. Do not answer confidently when the reference is unclear. Ask, "Are you referring to the first proposal?" Immediate response does not mean careless response. Speed should serve relevance. Train listening for hidden questions. Sometimes a person does not ask directly. "It is getting late" may imply a desire to leave. "I cannot open this file" may be a request for help. "There is a lot of noise in here" may be a suggestion to move or lower the volume. Social context determines the response. This is pragmatic listening, understanding what the speaker wants, not only what the sentence literally states. Politeness can hide intention. "Would you mind checking this when you have a moment?" is a request. "I was hoping we could discuss the deadline" signals a desired conversation. You might want to look at the last section again, maybe advice or criticism. Train the function. Humor and sarcasm can reverse literal meaning. If someone sees heavy rain and says, "Beautiful weather," the words are positive, but the intention is not. Tone, situation, and shared knowledge reveal the response. Do not depend on vocabulary alone. Response training should include repair. Misunderstand a phrase intentionally, then practice correcting. "Sorry, I thought you said Tuesday. Did you say Thursday?" Practice changing your answer when new information arrives. In that case, I would choose a different option. Real conversation is not a performance with one attempt. It is a process of adjustment. Use conversation branching. Take one question and imagine 3 possible answers from the other person. Prepare a follow-up for each. For example, ask, "How long have you been learning English?" If they say 6 months, ask what motivated them. If they say 10 years, ask what has been hardest. If they say they recently restarted, ask why. Branching trains you to listen to the actual answer instead of waiting for your planned next line. This is the difference between performing a dialogue and having a conversation. A common mistake is asking a question and then not listening because you are preparing the next question. The speaker can feel the absence. Make one rule: every follow-up must connect to something you just heard. This forces genuine listening. Response speed improves when you reduce unnecessary correction. If you begin, "I think the main problem is the cost." The correction may be useful, but repeated self-editing can destroy momentum. Correct errors that change meaning. Let smaller errors pass during the first response. Review them afterward. Fluency and accuracy need different training moments. During conversation drills, prioritize meaning and continuity. During review, identify recurring errors and practice the correct frame. Trying to perform both jobs at full intensity creates freezing. Listening practice should therefore end with output. After every micro loop, say a personal sentence. After every podcast section, summarize. After every interview question, answer. After every story, retell. Your ear should open a door that your voice walks through. Create a daily response bank. Record 3 questions and 3 statements. The next day, play them in random order and respond without preparation. Change the wording later. This makes practice less predictable. Use voice messages with a partner if available. Voice messages create useful pressure without requiring immediate live conversation. Listen once, respond, and avoid replaying unless important information is unclear. This trains first-pass comprehension. Then move toward live practice. Begin with short calls or structured topics. Set a task, compare 2 options, solve a problem, tell a story, or plan an activity. A task creates natural reasons to listen and respond. Do not measure response skill by accent perfection. Measure whether you understood the purpose, began clearly, stayed relevant, and invited the conversation forward. A fluent response is not always fast. Sometimes the most natural response is a thoughtful pause. The goal is not speed for its own sake. The goal is freedom from the frozen silence caused by disorganized processing. You can take a breath. You can say, "Let me think." You can confirm the question. Then you can begin with a simple frame and build. Over time, the stages become automatic. You hear the purpose, your position forms, an opening appears, the answer develops. You listen to the reaction and adjust. That is real speaking momentum. It begins in the ear, but it does not remain there. The strongest proof that you understood English is not a perfect transcript. It is a relevant human response. Chapter 12. The 30-Day Listening Momentum Plan. A method becomes valuable only when it becomes behavior. You can agree with every idea in this audiobook and still remain at the same level if tomorrow looks exactly like yesterday. The final chapter turns the principles into 30 days of focused action. This plan is not designed to fill every free hour. It is designed to be repeatable. Most days require 20 to 30 minutes. Some days are lighter. The purpose is to create a chain of recognition, practice, response, and review. You need 1 notebook or digital document, 1 source of short English audio with reliable transcripts, a recording tool, and a timer. Do not spend 3 days searching for the perfect app. The system matters more than the platform. Choose material connected to your actual goals. If you need workplace English, use interviews, meetings, presentations, and professional conversations. If you want everyday fluency, use stories, dialogues, and ordinary discussions. If you want academic listening, use short lectures and explanations. Motivation improves when the sound belongs to a future you care about. Before day 1, record a baseline. Choose a 60-second clip at a challenging but reasonable level. Listen once without text. Record a spoken summary. Then listen again and write what caused difficulty. Do not study the clip yet. Save it. You will return on day 30. On day 1, train recognition delay. Select a 20-second clip. Listen twice without text. Mark the exact moment where your understanding falls behind. Check the transcript and identify 1 known phrase you failed to recognize. Hear it, repeat it, and use it in 3 new sentences. Your goal is not to master the whole clip. Your goal is to repair 1 delay. On day 2, build 5 sound dictionary entries. Choose high-frequency phrases from real audio. For each phrase, write the meaning, the situation, and 1 personal example. Hear each phrase in the original voice. Then say it with a clear intention. Review them once in the evening. On day 3, practice landmarks. Use a 40-second explanation. Listen once and write only nouns, main verbs, numbers, and contrast words. Then give a 1-sentence summary. Check the transcript afterward. Notice whether the words you missed were central or supportive. On day 4, practice prediction. Before listening to a new clip, read only the title. Write 5 ideas or phrases you expect. Listen and compare. Pause twice during the clip and predict the next function, example, reason, contrast, result, or conclusion. On day 5, focus on connected speech. Select one sentence that looked easy but sounded unclear. Mark linking, weak words, contractions, and the main stress. Use the slow to natural ladder. Finish by hearing the original at normal speed with your eyes closed. On day 6, train rhythm. Tap the strong beats of 5 sentences. Hum the intonation of 2. Shadow 1. Record your version and compare only timing and stress. Do not correct every sound. On day 7, review. Do not add new phrases. Listen to the week's clips without transcripts. Test the 5 sound dictionary entries. Repeat the phrase from day 1. Give a 2-minute reflection in English. What became easier? What remains slow? This review turns activity into learning. During the 2nd week, the focus shifts from noticing to stabilizing. You will use repetition across time, not only within one session. On day 8, choose a 10-second micro loop. Complete the full process. First meaning, partial dictation, transcript check, sound mapping, repetition, delayed recall, paraphrase, and personal use. Record your first and final understanding. On day 9, return to the same loop without looking at the text. If recognition is immediate, test transfer. Find another sentence containing the same grammar frame or phrase family. If recognition is slow, repeat the repair stage without frustration. On day 10, create a second micro loop from a different speaker, but similar difficulty. Keep the topic familiar. Notice whether the new voice or the language pattern causes more difficulty. On day 11, train ear-mouth calibration. Choose 3 short response frames. Listen, repeat, record, correct one feature, and use each frame in 2 new answers. Speak for 1 minute using at least 2 frames. On day 12, practice delayed shadowing. Hear a sentence, wait 2 seconds, and repeat. Begin with 5 words and build toward a complete thought group. If meaning disappears, shorten the section. Accuracy of processing matters more than length. On day 13, practice retelling. Listen to a 30-second story, retell it in 15 seconds, then 30 seconds, then from another person's perspective. Compare what remained stable in each version. On day 14, review the first 2 weeks. Return to the original clips from days 1, 3, 8, and 10. Listen once each. Rate recognition from 1 to 5. Review only the items below 4. Your notebook should become smaller and more precise, not larger and more chaotic. The 3rd week adds flexibility. You will vary voices, conditions, and response demands while keeping the foundation stable. On day 15, select 3 speakers answering the same question. Listen for the shared content and the differences in rhythm. Summarize each person in 1 sentence. Do not rank the accents. Identify what your ear needs to adapt to. On day 16, stay with the most difficult of those speakers. Use a transcript to anchor their voice. Notice 2 recurring features. Listen to several short sections from the same person. Give the brain enough time to normalize the voice. On day 17, train numbers and names. Use audio containing dates, prices, percentages, addresses, or proper nouns. Write what you hear, then check. Practice confirmation aloud. Did you say 16 or 60? Could you spell that name? Accuracy matters because these details affect real decisions. On day 18, add mild noise. Take a sentence you already know and listen at lower volume or with soft background sound. Then use a new but easy sentence under the same condition. Do not jump straight to heavy noise. Resilience grows from controlled difficulty. On day 19, practice phone-style listening. Use audio only, no video. Listen to a short service conversation or voice message. Write the purpose, key details, and required action. Respond with a simulated voice message. On day 20, train emotional listening. Choose clips showing enthusiasm, uncertainty, frustration, or relief. Identify the emotion and the practical meaning. Repeat 1 sentence with 3 different attitudes. Notice how the words remain while the intention changes. On day 21, review flexibility. Listen to 4 short voices. Give yourself only 1 attempt before summarizing. Then replay and correct. Record which voice required the longest adjustment and why. This is data, not a judgment of your ability. The final week connects everything to real-time communication. Your goal is to understand, begin, organize, and continue. On day 22, train 1-second reactions. Play 10 short statements. Pause after each and respond immediately with interest, empathy, agreement, surprise, or a follow-up question. Keep each response short and natural. On day 23, train 5-second answers. Use 10 common questions. Give yourself 2 seconds to begin and 5 seconds to answer. Focus on clear openings. Do not evaluate grammar until the session ends. On day 24, train 30-second answers. Use the structure answer, reason, example, conclusion. Record 3 responses. Listen back and identify where listening ended and planning began. Did you answer the actual question? On day 25, practice clarification. Use difficult or deliberately ambiguous questions. Respond with targeted checks. Are you asking about the cause or the result? Do you mean before or after the change? This trains communication without guessing. On day 26, practice interruption recovery. Begin answering a question, then play a follow-up or change the condition. Say, in that case, or that changes my answer because. Flexibility is a core part of fluency. On day 27, have a task-based conversation if possible. Plan something, compare options, solve a small problem, or exchange stories. Make one rule: every follow-up question must connect to something you just heard. If no partner is available, use recorded prompts and answer aloud. On day 28, perform a full listening cycle. Choose a 90-second clip. Preview the topic. Listen once for purpose, listen again for landmarks. Select one micro loop, check the transcript, shadow one line, summarize the clip, give your opinion. This session combines the complete system. On day 29, do a light review. Test your sound dictionary, old loops, response frames, and accent notes. Remove entries that are already automatic. Choose 5 patterns that deserve another month. Progress includes letting mastered material go. On day 30, return to the baseline clip. Listen once under the same conditions as before. Record a new summary. Compare it with day 0. Measure several things: how quickly you identified the topic, how many details you retained, whether you stayed calm, whether your response began more easily, and whether the voice felt more familiar. Do not expect every sentence to become clear. 30 days cannot replace years of exposure. But if the training was honest, you should notice changes in process. You know where to listen. You recover faster. You recognize more phrases. You use transcripts more intelligently. You can explain why a section is difficult. You have a response system. That is a real result. After 30 days, repeat the plan with a higher level in one dimension. Increase clip length, change the accent, use more spontaneous speech, or reduce preparation. Do not increase everything together. Your daily core routine can continue in 15 minutes. Spend 3 minutes on first listening and landmarks. Spend 5 minutes on one micro loop. Spend 4 minutes on ear-mouth calibration. Spend 3 minutes summarizing or responding. This compact routine touches recognition, detail, sound, and output. On busy days, use the 5-minute minimum. Listen to one sentence. Identify one hidden feature. Repeat it. Use it in a new response. Never allow the belief that a small session is worthless. Small sessions protect continuity. On stronger days, add wide listening for enjoyment. Watch an interview, listen to a story, or follow a topic you care about. Do not pause every sentence. Let the language move. Deep practice trains precision. Wide listening trains endurance and curiosity. Keep the ratio healthy. If every listening experience becomes analysis, you may lose joy. If every experience becomes passive entertainment, improvement may remain slow. Train deeply enough to change your ear, and listen widely enough to build a life in English. Your material should become gradually more authentic. Begin with clear, natural speech. Move toward spontaneous conversation. Add unfamiliar voices, add emotional speech, add noise and overlap. Keep returning to comprehensible material so confidence remains grounded in evidence. Track the right numbers. Minutes listened can be useful, but they do not show quality. Also, track loops mastered, known phrases repaired, voices adapted to, summaries produced, and conversations completed. These measures reflect skill. Do not track every mistake. That creates a museum of failure. Track recurring patterns. If you miss would have repeatedly, train the frame. If you lose long questions, practice question compression. If numbers create danger, isolate them. One pattern can produce many errors, one repair can remove many errors. Protect the routine from perfectionism. Missing one day is not collapse. Return the next day. Do not punish yourself with a 3-hour session. Momentum is not a perfect chain, it is the habit of returning before absence becomes identity. Protect it from novelty addiction. A new method will always look exciting. Use this system long enough to collect evidence before replacing it. Constantly changing methods prevents adaptation. Protect it from comparison. Another learner may understand films earlier because of years of exposure, a related language, different interests, or more daily contact. Their timeline does not diagnose your potential. Compare your current recognition with your own baseline. Protect it from material that is far above your level. Difficulty can be useful, but total confusion teaches little. Choose audio where the main situation is accessible and a limited number of features require repair. Protect it from material that is always too easy. Comfort maintains skill, challenge expands it. If first listen understanding is nearly complete every day, add one new variable. Most importantly, protect the purpose. You are not training to collect perfect scores. You are training to understand people, learn ideas, participate in work, enjoy stories, build relationships, and express yourself without fear, controlling every second. At the end of 30 days, your ear will not be finished. No serious skill is finished, but you will possess something more useful than temporary motivation. You will have a repeatable process. When sound is unclear, you will know how to locate the gap. When a phrase disappears, you will know how to map it. When a voice feels unfamiliar, you will know how to adapt. When pressure rises, you will know how to stay present. When a question arrives, you will know how to begin. That is the foundation of independent progress. A teacher can select the audio. A book can explain the method. A channel can give you practice. But only your repeated attention can build recognition inside your brain. 30 days will not make English slow. 30 days will begin making your ear fast enough to move with it. Closing, when English stops feeling like a race. You began this audiobook with a familiar frustration. You could recognize English on a page, but natural speech seemed to transform it into something else. You knew the vocabulary, yet the words did not arrive clearly. You understood after reading the transcript, but not while the speaker was moving. You blamed speed, memory, accent, intelligence, or confidence. Now the problem has a clearer shape. Spoken English is not written English delivered more quickly. It is a living sound system. Words connect, stress moves, grammar becomes weak when meaning is predictable. Rhythm organizes attention, context prepares recognition, voices vary, emotions reshape delivery. Conversation asks you to understand and respond before you have time to analyze every part. The difficulty was real, but it was not proof that your brain was incapable. It was proof that your training had focused on the wrong doorway. Your eyes may have learned thousands of words. Your ears need to meet those words in motion. That meeting happens through deliberate recognition. You locate the half-second gap. You find the phrase that delayed you. You compare sound with text. You discover whether the problem came from a connected boundary, a weak form, an unfamiliar frame, a surprising accent, or a broken expectation. Then you repair the pattern and test it again. This process changes the emotional meaning of confusion. Confusion is no longer a verdict, it is information. When a sentence is unclear, you do not need to say, "I am terrible at listening." You can ask a better question. What exactly failed? Did I know the words? Did I recognize the spoken shape? Did I lose the main stress? Did I misunderstand the speaker's purpose? Did I stop listening while translating? Did anxiety consume my attention? Did I choose material too far above my level? A precise question gives you a precise next step. You also learned that listening is selective. Effective listeners do not protect every syllable equally. They follow landmarks. They notice names, numbers, main verbs, contrast, decisions, and consequences. They hear the structure of an explanation. They identify the center of a long sentence. They allow small gaps to remain open while the larger meaning continues. This is not incomplete listening. It is intelligent attention. You learn to use prediction without becoming trapped by it. A topic activates vocabulary. A situation narrows the possibilities. A grammar frame prepares the next form. A discourse marker tells you whether the speaker will explain, contrast, conclude, or correct. Your brain no longer waits helplessly for every sound. It meets the message with a prepared map. You learned why familiar words can seem to disappear. They did not vanish. They changed shape through linking, reduction, contraction, assimilation, and ordinary physical movement. The page separated them. The mouth connected them. Once your ear expects movement, natural speech feels less like damage and more like design. You learned that rhythm is not decoration. Stress directs attention. Intonation reveals attitude. Thought groups organize memory. Pauses signal planning, hesitation, emphasis, and turn-taking. A sentence can be grammatically simple and emotionally complex. The melody tells you how to receive it. You learned to train deeply with micro-loops. A few seconds of sound can become a laboratory. You listen first for meaning. You record honest gaps. You check the transcript. You map the sound. You repeat with intention. You delay the repetition. You paraphrase. You use the phrase in your own sentence. Then you return later and test whether recognition survived. This is the difference between replaying and training. You learned that the mouth can educate the ear. When you produce a connected phrase, you build a physical model. When you record yourself, you hear the distance between intention and result. When you adjust timing, stress, and clarity, you make both perception and production more accurate. Your goal was never to erase your identity or copy one speaker perfectly. Your goal was to make English easier to recognize and your own speech easier to understand. You learned that one comfortable voice is not enough. Real English comes through many people. Accent flexibility grows through controlled variation, curiosity, and time. You do not need to understand every person instantly. You need a system for adapting without panic. You learned that pressure changes listening. A question in a quiet practice clip may become difficult when an interviewer is waiting. A phone number may disappear because there is no visual support. A group discussion may overload attention because voices overlap. The solution is not shame. It is simulation, preparation, confirmation, and recovery. You learned that a relevant response is stronger evidence of understanding than a perfect transcript. Listening should lead somewhere. It should help you answer, clarify, comfort, disagree, decide, ask, retell, and continue. The ear opens the conversation. The mouth keeps it alive. And you learned that progress must become daily, not dramatic, daily. There will be days when your listening feels worse. Perhaps the speaker is unfamiliar. Perhaps you are tired. Perhaps the topic contains new vocabulary. Perhaps the recording is poor. Do not use one difficult day to cancel months of progress. Listening ability is not one fixed number. It changes with topic, context, voice, sound quality, stress, and attention. Measure the pattern over time. There will be moments when subtitles feel irresistible. Use them as a tool, not an escape. Let your ear attempt the message first. Use text to reveal the gap, then remove the text and listen again. The goal is not to prove that subtitles are bad. The goal is to prevent your eyes from doing work your ears need to learn. There will be phrases you repeat many times and still miss in a new voice. That does not mean the training failed. It means the pattern has not become flexible yet. Add variation. Here another example. Return after a few days. Learning is not a straight line from unknown to permanent. Recognition strengthens through encounters. There will be conversations where you ask someone to repeat. Do it. A competent communicator confirms what matters. Native speakers mishear names, numbers, and unfamiliar references too. Clarification is part of language, not evidence that you do not belong. There will be answers that begin slowly. Use a holding phrase, take a breath, restate the question, begin with one clear sentence. Fluency is not measured by how quickly you make noise, it is measured by how effectively you stay connected to meaning. You do not need to win a race against the speaker, you need to move with the conversation. That distinction changes everything. When listening feels like a race, every missed word becomes distance. You imagine the speaker running ahead while you chase from behind. Panic makes you faster in the wrong direction. You translate harder, analyze more, and lose the present. When listening feels like movement, you hold the direction. You may miss one step, but you remain on the path. You use rhythm, context, and landmarks. You recover at the next idea. You ask when the missing detail matters. You continue. The speaker does not need to become slow. Your processing needs to become organized. Organization creates calm. Calm protects attention. Attention strengthens recognition. Recognition gives you time. Time makes response possible. Response creates confidence. Confidence makes you willing to listen more. The system begins feeding itself. That is, the speaking momentum. Momentum is not excitement. Excitement disappears. Momentum is a structure that makes the next useful action easier. One recognized phrase helps you hear the next sentence. One completed microloop makes tomorrow's practice clearer. One confident clarification prevents a conversation from collapsing. One relevant response proves that English can move through you. Each small success becomes support for the next. Do not wait for a future version of yourself who feels perfectly ready. That person is built through the session you complete today. Choose a short audio. Listen once, without help. Identify the purpose. Find the delay. Check the text. Repair one pattern. Repeat with meaning. Say something of your own. That is enough to create movement. Tomorrow, return. The size of the session matters less than the honesty of the attention. 5 focused minutes can protect the habit. 20 focused minutes can create visible change. An hour can be powerful when energy is available, but no session can help if it exists only in your plans. Start before motivation becomes perfect. You may have spent years believing that listening improvement required a special talent. It does not. It requires exposure, but exposure with attention. It requires vocabulary, but vocabulary stored as sound. It requires grammar, but grammar recognized as a predictable frame. It requires pronunciation, but pronunciation connected to meaning. It requires confidence, but confidence built from evidence. Evidence is available. A phrase was unclear, and now you hear it. A voice felt impossible, and after several days, it becomes familiar. A question once caused silence, and now you can begin. A phone call once created panic, and now you confirm the details. A film scene once sounded like noise, and now you recognize the rhythm, even when some words remain unclear. These are not small changes. They are the construction of a new listening identity. Stop introducing yourself to yourself as the person who cannot understand fast English. That description may have been accurate in some situations, but it is too broad to guide growth. Say something more honest. I am training recognition. I am becoming flexible across voices. I am learning to hold meaning without chasing every word. I know how to repair what I miss. Identity should follow behavior. Practice until the new description becomes true. Be patient with the biological reality of learning. The brain strengthens connections through repetition and sleep. The mouth improves through repeated motor patterns. Attention develops through use. You cannot command automaticity in one night, but you can create the conditions that make automaticity likely. Do not mistake patience for passivity. Patience is disciplined repetition without false drama. Continue, even when progress feels quiet. Some of the most important changes happen before you notice them. A sound pattern becomes slightly easier. A phrase requires less effort. Your response begins half a second earlier. Then, one day, the improvement becomes obvious because a conversation that once overwhelmed you feels manageable. The breakthrough appears sudden. The training was not. There is another reason to build your English ear. Listening is not only a language skill, it is a form of respect. When you listen well, you receive another person's intention instead of waiting only for your turn. You hear uncertainty beneath a confident sentence. You notice when someone corrects themselves. You understand the difference between a request and a complaint. You respond to the person, not only the vocabulary. Better listening can make you a better speaker because it teaches you how communication actually works. It shows you which phrases people use, how they soften disagreement, how they organize stories, how they signal conclusions, and how they make space for others. The ear is not a passive entrance, it is a teacher. Let it teach your pronunciation. Let it teach your timing. Let it teach your phrasing. Let it teach your responses. Let it teach your confidence. But choose what enters. Endless random content can fill attention without building skill. Select voices and topics that move you toward your goals. Listen to people whose ideas matter to you. Build a relationship with English that is larger than correction. Learn through stories that make you curious. Follow discussions that challenge your thinking. Listen to explanations that improve your work. Hear humor, emotion, disagreement, and ordinary life. English becomes easier when it becomes meaningful. Meaning gives repetition a reason. From this moment, do not ask only, "How much English did I hear today?" Ask, "What did my ear learn to recognize?" Do not ask only, "How many new words did I collect?" Ask, "Which phrases became available in real time?" Do not ask only, "Did I understand the entire video?" Ask, "Did I remain present, identify the message, and respond?" These questions measure the skill you actually want. Fast English may still challenge you. That is normal. Challenge does not mean failure. It means the language is giving your system something new to adapt to. When a speaker moves quickly, do not tighten every muscle and demand perfection. Let the first sentence establish the topic. Find the stressed landmarks. Use the speaker's tone. Allow prediction to prepare possibilities. Release one small gap. Stay with the next idea. Confirm critical details. Respond to the meaning. This is what trained listening feels like. Not total control, intelligent participation. You are no longer standing outside the sound, waiting for every word to become clear before you enter. You are inside the movement. You are using all the evidence. You are adjusting as the message develops. English does not need to become foreign noise, followed by delayed translation. It can become intention, it can become a picture, it can become a reaction, it can become your answer. That is the moment the ear is unlocked. Not when every accent becomes effortless. Not when you never ask for repetition. Not when you understand every film without a single missed line. The ear is unlocked when confusion no longer controls your next action. You know how to listen again without shame. You know how to inspect the sound. You know how to train the pattern. You know how to remain in the conversation. You know how to continue. If this audiobook has given you a method, do not let the method remain an idea. Begin the 30-day plan. Record the baseline. Keep the first session small. Build evidence. And as you continue, return to the speaking momentum for focused English training that connects listening, thinking, and speaking. Do not subscribe because you want another video in your feed. Subscribe if you intend to practice. A channel cannot create fluency for you, but it can give your effort direction. Make one commitment now. The next time fast English feels unclear, you will not immediately declare defeat. You will identify the layer. You will choose the correct tool. You will train what failed. The words you know are waiting to become sounds you recognize. The sounds you recognize are waiting to become meaning you can follow. The meaning you follow is waiting to become a voice you can use. Train the ear, protect the present, answer the meaning, keep the momentum. The sentence did not disappear. This time, you are ready to arrive with it. Final guided practice. Arrive with the sentence before this audiobook ends. Use the method once. Sit comfortably and imagine that a speaker is about to ask you a question in natural English. Do not prepare a perfect answer. Prepare your attention. Release your shoulders. Let your jaw rest. Breathe out slowly. Your job is not to catch every syllable. Your job is to remain available for meaning. Imagine the speaker says, "What is one habit that has made the biggest difference in the way you learn?" First, hear the purpose. This is not a vocabulary test. The speaker wants one habit, its effect, and perhaps a reason. Find the landmarks. One habit, biggest difference, way you learn. Allow the smaller words to support the sentence without chasing them. Hold the meaning in a shorter form. Which learning habit helped you most? Now begin. You can say, "The habit that has helped me most is focused repetition." That first sentence answers directly. Add a reason. It works because I stop moving to new material before my brain has recognized the sound. Add an example. Instead of watching a long video once, I train a short section, check what I missed, and listen again. Finish. That habit has made natural English feel much clearer. Notice what happened. You did not construct the entire answer before speaking. You heard the purpose, compressed the question, chose an opening, and built the response one step at a time. Now imagine a second speaker responds, "I understand repetition, but I get bored very quickly." Do not prepare a lecture. React to the human meaning. You might say, "That makes sense." Repetition becomes boring when every replay has the same task. Then offer a useful idea. Try changing your focus each time. Listen once for meaning, once for stress, once for connected words, and once to repeat. The conversation moves because your answer connects to what you heard. Now imagine the speaker says something less clear. "I tried that for a while, but it did not really. I mean, I could follow the clip, but then with another person it was gone." Do not panic, because the sentence contains a repair. Hold the intention. The learner understood one recording but could not transfer the skill to another voice. Respond to that meaning. "It sounds like you learned the recording but not yet the wider pattern." Try the same phrase with 2 or 3 speakers. You did not need a perfect transcript. You followed the correction, identified the problem, and responded. This is the listening ability you are building. It is not fragile. It does not collapse because one sound is weak. It uses purpose, landmarks, rhythm, context, and intelligent repair. Carry this short sequence into your daily practice. Hear the purpose, hold the landmarks, compress the meaning, begin simply, add one reason, and connect your next response to what the other person actually says. You will not perform it perfectly every time. You do not need to. The sequence becomes faster through use. The next conversation is not a final examination of your English. It is another training moment. The next difficult voice is not proof that you have failed. It is another pattern for your brain to learn. The next missed phrase is not a wall. It is a specific gap, waiting for attention. Listen with curiosity instead of accusation. Recognize before translating. Respond before perfectionism takes control. And whenever you lose the sentence, return to the next landmark. English is still moving, and you can move with it. From today, do not wait for confidence before you listen. Build confidence by listening with a method, one clear phrase at a time. Let your ear become faster, your mind become calmer, and your voice become ready. Keep on going.